Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, beer drinkers.
Get ready for an all-new experience in information exchange and beer culture.
Your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers from around the globe
right to your home.
You're not just listening to broadcasters, it's the Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
Doc's first week back, and I don't know how long it's even been without you, Doc.
Ages and ages and ages.
I'm just glad that somebody noticed I was gone.
It has been like
at least a month.
At least a month. It may have even been 5 shows or some ridiculous thing we've done without you.
Yep, things just kept getting piled on, and I had to leave for the weekend. And stuff, and this is the first weekend I've been home in quite a while.
No kidding. Yeah, I want to hear all about it. I've got a couple of things to do first, maybe, and then I want to know.
Cool.
I want to know where Doc's been. Today's show is another great Yeast show, and we've actually been off ourselves. We didn't do a show last week, and before that, we did the shows from the NHC in Orlando. And I haven't been in the studio doing shows here for a few weeks ourselves.
I've been here waiting for you guys on your front porch.
JP joining us today has just been hanging out, waiting for us to get back.
I feel lonely.
Danielle, how's the chat room looking so far today?
It's looking busy.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Usually people get pretty excited about when we do a yeast show. And today, for the first time, we've got David Logsdon from Yeast Company. He's gonna be calling in. I think we're gonna get him on the phone here about 5:45 in the show. So hang in there with us if you got any questions. Cool. Of course, join Danielle in the chat room, and she'll take all your questions down and make sure we get them answered in the relatively short time we have with Dave. I think he's ready to stick around for an hour or so, but
cool. Groovy.
He's in the middle of doing family things even. He's out watching daughter's softball games and all that, but he's ready to get on the phone and do the interview anyway.
Man.
So get your questions in early, and we'll make sure that we get as many of them answered as we possibly can. That's David Logsdon of the Yeast Company joining us right here on the Brewing Network Sunday show. So, Doc, I think that's all I had to get through. I really want to know where the heck you've been. People, I think, thought maybe I fired you or some ridiculous thing like that.
Yeah, we had a big falling out.
There was a lot of beer involved. And
some heroin, but...
I guess tired of Doc stealing my spotlight.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
So what happened, Doc?
Well, let's see. The first week it was impromptu, got called down to Orange County for my wife's stepfather's 80th birthday. That was an expensive experiment for naught, I swear to God.
Really? You shouldn't even have gone, you mean?
Oh, yeah. It was expensive. I didn't get a chance to meet any of my friends because it was just go, go, go.
Yeah.
Hung out. We did this boat tour down in Newport Beach, which bit the big one. It was just a clusterfuck.
Oh, wasn't it cool?
Half the people showed up, half didn't. We're away from which boat are we supposed to be on? Oh, shit. So then we go to dinner.
Yeah.
That's okay. And then the kids want to hang around the fun zone for a while. Fine. Then I walk all the way to the car because I had to park parking lot pretty far away.
Yeah.
Daddy couldn't find the car keys.
Oh.
To the rental car. So
you dropped him in the ocean somewhere? Or
I don't know. I went back on the boat. I went back to every place I'd been to.
Right.
Nothing.
Oh, man.
And then it came to, well, someone turned in like 3 sets of keys at the kiosk at this parking lot.
Okay.
None of them were mine. So then we call the mother-in-law and we say, hey, what's going on? We lost the keys, First we actually called, and father-in-law answers, the 80-year-old answers and says, oh, what? Huh? My wife's going, get my mom on the phone. Okay, let me get her.
Yeah. 5
minutes later, my wife's still waiting. She's pissed. And then all of a sudden you hear her mom say, Hal, the phone is off the hook. Click, click.
Oh, it's like a movie.
So I just called my sister, and she was right down there.
So he is your sort of atypical 80-year-old, like kind of out of it, a little wacky.
Yeah.
Like smack you on the ass.
When he's on, he's on. He's a funny guy. He's a retired psychologist. He's kind of a funny guy. Yeah, he's losing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
I'm sure he still drives, right?
No, actually, I think we made him stop. But, then, my sister gets down there, and the first thing my 6-year-old says is, Auntie Shell, Mommy said the F word. When did Mommy say the F word? Right after Daddy lost the car keys.
Nice.
So that trip was just
a mess, huh?
Yeah, and then we went down to Mexico the week after that. Stayed down about 10 days, and it was a little hotter than it is in the studio right now.
So it was hot.
It was hot. Oh my God, it was hot, humid, nasty.
Now you weren't looking forward to going on a Mexican vacation, and I love going to Mexico. I haven't been in a while. I went when I was a kid, and I went like maybe 5 years ago. It's great every time I go. You were dreading the whole thing.
Well, it's just taking everybody down there and dragging the kids everywhere, and it's kind of a pain. But it turned out it was okay. Long flight, but it was okay.
What'd you drink?
it was free drink. It was a Club Med, so it's just drink all you want.
Okay.
And they had taps of Corona and Negro Modelo everywhere, so drank a lot of that.
At least the Negro Modelo is pretty good.
Yeah. I hooked up with a couple of dads.
Okay.
And
a little kinky there.
Well, no, we just hang out and drink every night. Get the kids in bed, we just hang out and drink. It was weird. It was almost like we were good fellas.
Yeah.
We had this table around us, and everybody come by and hang.
Oh, that's great.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And that wasn't too bad. Drank a lot, drank late every night. Woke up feeling pretty good every night.
Really?
Hurt myself the last night, though. A bunch of us got a cab, went off-site, started partying hard out in the town.
Yeah.
And I came back, and my wife woke me up about 9, and I wasn't just a little drunk anymore. I was hammered.
Then she's like, don't bring the hooker home with you next time.
Yeah. Oh, it was something. Then cab ride about 3 o'clock, 95 degrees, and I about hurled in the guy's cab.
Oh, man.
It was a crispy ride home. The thing I didn't want to do.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, being crispy and living, hanging by the pool is one thing, but, sitting in the airport, waiting on a plane, all that
hungover.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst. Last time I had that ride, it was after the Oregon Brew Festival, and I was laying in the airport doing the same thing, just ready to uke, and it wasn't a fun thing.
It would have been nicer, sitting by a pool with another beer or something, but, when you got to travel, it wasn't so fun. And then last weekend, my stepfather's 80th birthday, but at least that was in Vegas. So
okay.
So I went with my brother. We had some fun. Went and shot machine guns for a while.
Yeah. Nice.
Don't get to do that every day.
No, of course not.
Well, not in Orinda. I mean, you go to Oakland or something like that.
Yeah.
We're talking fully automatic machine guns here?
Oh, yeah.
Are they legal in Nevada or something?
Yeah.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because Nevada rules for 2 reasons. Because it has Vegas, and you can drink outside, and you can
have automatic.
Yeah, we were walking up and down the street with beers.
Yeah, that's what I love. Other than that, Nevada sucks.
No, I do dig certain things about Nevada's laws and their freedom, and I'm all about the right to bear arms and everything. But who needs a fully automatic weapon?
You can have a silencer too.
Yes.
Just so you don't disturb the neighbors.
Yeah. They should change the name. It shouldn't be Nevada at all. It should be more obvious than that. Like you can kill people here.
And, they don't let you do that.
And not get caught,
Well, just like my brother says, if everybody that's buried out in the desert between here and Vegas stood up, you couldn't see the horizon.
Right. Shallow grave.
Yeah,
that's
probably true.
Nevada is one shallow grave.
So a little bit of trekking the West Coast
Yep.
for Dr. Scott over the past couple of months. Well, we've missed you, and we definitely missed you at NHC. I know you didn't want anything to do with Florida anyway, but it wasn't too hot this year, and we were inside most of the time anyway, and we spent our nights in the swimming pool getting drunk, man.
24-hour swimming pool, my friend.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
We got to meet a bunch of listeners. They all asked about you. They were all pissed at you.
Well, yeah, I got to do the wife vacation with the family, and I can't really leave full weeks from the office at once.
Right.
And it would have been back to back.
Gotcha.
Or pretty close.
Well, the way we see it now, Daniela and I were talking about it, because you have been away now, and it was all family time, and we know that sometimes we have to struggle to get you away from the family. Well, the way I see it, we own you now for at least like 4 weeks, because you put in your time.
Yep, exactly.
So, no excuses. You don't have to go home early after the show. Nothing.
Yeah, I've just been so busy. I haven't even been able to be in on the forum much.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
If you noticed my absence even on the forum, I just haven't been able to. I can read them, but here and there spotty, but I can't even get into answering anything.
But
And
you're back in action now.
I'm back in action now.
And the worst thing is our house is falling apart without Dr. Scott's help because you're not able to do any of the handyman work. So now everything is leaking and breaking, and I
That's
just
not
keep
true.
crying for you, Dr. Scott. I'm happy you're back.
Thank you, dear.
Here's a honeydew list.
Doc did run over here last minute just for the show, and he's like, I am putting in that air conditioner today. I'm like, Doc, we got like a half hour before show. I'm doing it. Give me the tape measure.
No, actually, you asked me, do you need a tape measure? I go, no, I brought my own. I can't trust you to have tools.
Yeah, that's true. The only tool I have is JP.
That's right.
You can always count on JP being around.
What?
So we do have the AC going. We're waiting to see if it's going to kick in today, and could feel it a little bit. Maybe our hot studio woes are gone after today.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. We'll keep you all up to date. I'm sure that you're hanging on the edge of your seats.
Come
wondering.
Tuesday. Damn it, I need an update on the studio.
Is it still hot?
Is it cool or not?
It's 103 in Pacheco.
Now, with us in the studio for a short time today, our friend Andy, who had worked the chat room for us a couple of times at the beginning of the show, helped us get all set up. He built this studio with me, and really kind of a back of the house kind of guy who's not been on the microphone with us a lot. And I wanted to talk to him today because he's just come home from Australia. And as you all know, Australia is like our second biggest listenership as far as other continents are concerned. And we get a lot of praise from the Australians about the show, and there's a lot of mixed rumors that go on between Australia and the United States, and one of them is whether or not Australians actually like Americans. And Oz tells us they do, and you can get women there, and they love the accent, and when the military goes there, like the women there don't want anything to do with the Australians, and that we're generally a well-liked. Look, let's face it, most of the world doesn't like us very much.
Pretty much.
But the rumor is that we're generally well-liked in Australia. Well, Andy's just come back and has a couple of stories to the contrary. Andy, no one even liked you.
Nope.
Not one person.
Nobody.
Really?
No.
So even you went there for school for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And you're fresh off the boat. You get there. Were your first experiences like Yankee go home kind of thing?
Kind of, sorta.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was that bad?
No.
But they didn't like you.
No, well, I don't, there's this weird kind of, I think it's like city folk versus, country folk kind of thing going on, because the city folk really didn't care too much.
Okay.
Some were happy. But the country folk had like a real xenophobia going on where it was almost, they were kind of just really bitter about everything.
Really?
Yeah.
That could be just in general. They just kind of hate being country folk.
Could be.
Maybe it's that you look like an Aborigine.
That could be it.
And they're like, what are you doing here?
They still don't like the Aboriginals out there.
They don't. Actually, that we've heard. There's not a good relationship between the normal Aussies and the Aborigines.
They pretend like they do.
But it's all a farce.
They name towns after them and movies and Crocodile
It's just what
Dundee.
the Americans do too,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, we do the same
That's
thing.
how you deal with your native
Americans.
people.
Right. Yeah.
Well, but seriously,
the Germans are perfect. I want to put that.
Yeah. You had said though that you would actually hear snickers on the bus and just things behind your back.
Yeah, it wasn't so much about. It was less about me and more about the other Australians listening to other Americans.
Okay.
If that makes sense. There was a lot of, I kind of just keep my mouth shut a lot of the time, but there was a lot of like, oh, stupid American this, and they're so loud and obnoxious, and
right.
all they talk about is money, and like, I'm sorry if I got a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know.
Forgive me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, that isn't actually Americans in general abroad. In fact, didn't I read it on air once? There was this whole list of things you should do abroad, and I thought the list was kind of silly. And
but one of them definitely was don't talk about your money and downplay everything,
and don't be so loud about it while you're at it.
Yeah, that big Stars and Stripes shirt probably didn't go over well, did it?
Was it
wearing the flag as a cape?
Was it your American flag thong, Andy, that people didn't like?
It was my American banana hammock. Good old Stars and Stripe.
Your Stars and Stripe nipple tassels.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Exactly. Don't carry your flag everywhere you go. That's kind of a weird thing to do. If you travel and want to explore a different country, don't be branded like the U.S. is, you know? That's stupid.
They should lay low.
But I think people who travel sometimes in general, they are weird. That's not like the best people of the country who go and travel. As a German, for example, if you go to Asia, a lot of Asians think that the German guy only goes there in order to have like sexual pleasures going on there that he can't get at home.
Right.
And that's not true. You know, I'm a German and I don't do that. So that's their, you know, what they think about us. So
I thought that's why people went to Asia in general.
Yeah.
See, you think
for
that's
that and cheap stainless steel.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's it. You go over there, have some weird sex, and come back with some stainless steel.
With a nice ball valve. Get a blister and a ball valve all in one trip.
That's pretty much it. I like that description. That's good. All right, well, I just was curious because there is some misnomers. Now, the other thing, now, Andy.
Yep.
I used to argue with you about this all the time, about which direction the water in the toilet flows. And you were adamant about the fact that that it has nothing to do with what hemisphere you're in. It's all about the plumbing.
Yes.
Well, the Australian that we had here, you know Oz, our old listener, Ozzy.
Yeah.
He confirmed that the toilet water flows the other direction.
Yeah.
Andy, you've now been to Australia. Which way does the toilet water flow?
It's all about the plumbing. Still all about the plumbing.
Did it go backwards?
Well, it didn't come out of the toilet.
But
there was this one time.
It swirls, but it swirled the opposite direction, didn't it?
When he got there, he didn't remember what it went at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, who pays attention to what
not sure.
Clockwise or anti-clockwise?
You're telling me that you didn't pay attention to the toilet?
I didn't, because I'm sticking to my plumbing. Sticking to my plumbing. But you know what is cool about the Australian toilets, though?
Okay.
At least the ones I encountered. Is they've got a dual flush.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
No.
There's actually 2 buttons to flush. There's a full flush and a half flush.
For pee, right?
Yeah.
Really? So you got a number 1 flush and a number 2?
Exactly, a poo-poo flush. And
sometimes I need a double flush.
Yeah.
I always double flush because I'll clog.
There should be the flashing red number 3 flush.
Yeah. And the auto flush.
Yeah.
They should just do it for you.
No, there's a courtesy flush, too. It's when you're in the public bathroom.
Yeah.
As soon as it hits the water, you flush.
Be several options.
Yeah. Oh, man, some of those toilets, though, you don't want the courtesy flush while you're doing it.
Really?
All right, because some of these things are like bilge valves on the Titanic, where they will just throw you up off the toilet.
Oh, gotcha.
And you don't want to do that. But there's the half flush where it's like a little half circle, and then the full flush where it's like a full circle.
That's how you know.
And amazingly, as retarded as I am, I couldn't tell the difference between the two when I first got there.
Okay.
So I thought I had to hit
American.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
so
yeah.
I had
the half flush
both
twice
of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And
I'm so arrogant. I bet you used the double flush every time.
I just crapped on the top of the toilet. I didn't even use the bowl.
Yeah.
And then just like a little American flag on a toothpick in it.
There you go. But and they also have different urinals out there too.
Okay.
Or maybe we have different urinals here. I'm not sure.
That was the women's bathroom.
Yeah. That was the sink in the women's
Stupid American.
What's different about them?
They're like they're these big stainless steel traps with like gates on the floor. It's really weird. It's like a big. It looks like the inside of a meat locker.
So is it against the wall or it's on the floor?
It is the wall.
So you basically piss on the floor.
Oh, okay.
You piss on the wall and the floor, but there's like a gate, and it's like raised up, and you're not sure at first if you're supposed to stand on the gate or just piss from a foot back and hope you hit something.
Yeah.
You're
That's
not
when
sure.
you just wait in the bathroom until someone else comes in. But then you look like a pervert.
That's what I tried to do.
Stalking dudes in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Did you stand back and piss forward?
No, I actually didn't use until I was, sure I was.
That's all about the plumbing.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have to do? I need to know now. You stand on the gate?
You stand on the gate,
right.
but if you're not sure, you just stand a foot back and hunker down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just go in the stall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say that there was like a nice feminine-like hand that comes out and holds you while you pee. Like I was hoping it was that kind of
Strokes your
different.
balls while it does.
little ball massage.
Yeah.
Pokes the pee out.
I can tell what kind of bathrooms you've been in.
My kind of bathrooms.
Asian bathrooms.
Isn't there supposed to be a doorknob in that hole? All right, so very different in the bathrooms.
Yes.
And the half flush and the full flush, it's a water saving technique for them?
Yeah,
or?
they're still hard up on water. I mean, no, not still.
Well, they're in a drought.
Yeah, big. But it's weird because I mostly stayed in Sydney, and you can't tell they're in a drought over there. So they must be shipping the water across to the west coast.
So, Sydney, I think, is like this spoiled city of all of the rest of Australia suffers and they get eaten by dingoes and that whole thing. Sydney has a glass barrier around it. It's a magical place.
Yes.
They get all the water.
So, but they got the funnel webs.
What are the funnel webs?
They're one of the nastiest spiders.
Yeah.
And those are in Sydney?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any experience with those, Andy?
No, they're not like in the city, I guess. They're in
Okay.
kind of the outlying areas, so.
Any like major hardcore insect or animal type of encounters?
Yeah, there were some pretty gnarly big crab spiders. Like spiders like the size of your head.
Oh.
I don't know what they do to you, but you're just walking along and they're just hanging out like
on the street.
Yeah, like on the street, or like they had like webs that were as big as your body.
Oh!
Hanging off the bushes.
Is anybody stuck in one?
No. Oh, God! American.
Leave him there. He's American.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, nothing else. I mean, I got to pet a koala.
Oh,
that was fun.
I thought that they rip your arms off, those koalas.
No, those are the dingoes.
Nah, both of them. The koalas aren't nice.
Nah.
This one was nice?
This one was, I think they sedate them.
Yeah.
No, it's the eucalyptus that drugs
That's
them.
what I heard. It made them really high, and that's why they're just so kicked back all the time.
Yeah.
They have to like hold his head up for you.
Yeah.
Just limp.
It's actually been dead for 2 weeks, but
So
it's still soft.
Do you go to a special place for that, or you just walk down the road and someone's got a sedated koala?
They just hang out on the side of the street.
Touch my koala.
Withdrawals. Yeah. No, it was
they're looking cheap.
Yeah.
Can you eucalyptus, man?
I'm hard up, yo. Yeah, no, it was a zoo. They have different zoos,
okay.
but if you got to go to the off the beaten path kind of zoos, because the traditional zoos will make you charge. They'll charge like $200
to touch a koala.
Yeah, to like take the VIP stuff and everything. Those are the touristy ones. They do have this cool thing where you can go scuba diving with a shark, though.
Really?
Didn't get to do it. But
You wanted to do that though?
Yeah.
What kind of shark?
A big one.
So how much is it to scuba dive with a koala?
Yeah.
Free.
You got to go way to the one off the beaten path.
Way off the beaten path.
Yeah.
So in other words, you had to go to the zoos where they basically stole their animals, sedated them with drugs, and allowed anyone who came up to them to touch them.
Pretty much. And the wranglers were real interesting too.
Really?
Yeah, the guys that would kind of look after them. These koalas, it was like they had no sphincter control.
Nice.
Because the dude would just pick the thing up, and I couldn't tell if it was scared or just still sedated, but it was like just all over him.
Oh, he needed a full flush.
Yeah, just he needed a full flush.
Yeah.
There was the pee and the poo rolling off of him and everything, and the guy was just like knocking it off with his hand.
Ah,
but he didn't even care.
Did he shake your hand after that?
No.
And it's like, here, do you want to touch my koala? No, I don't.
Yes. I'd like to touch its head.
Yeah. Is there a clean portion I could touch?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the end with the teeth.
Oh, man. All right. Well, there's Andy's life in Australia. That's interesting.
That's pretty much everything that happened.
Nothing else happened.
Nothing
I hit the number 2 button all the time, and I pet a koala.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's fair. Well, I'm glad you made it back safe.
Thank you.
And thank you for dispelling some of the myths. Now,
Thanks.
I was originally just going to head right over, hang out with Oz for a time, but now I'm a little nervous about people not liking us.
Yeah. Oh, bring your own ass gaskets too. Let me just say that.
They don't have any of the ass
No
gaskets?
ass gaskets. if you go into the nicer places, they've got like a little squirter. You can squirt out some sanitizer on a toilet paper and just kind of,
Oh, I like that. I've seen those before.
Yeah, and your butt smells better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just smear those germs around.
Yeah, exactly.
I just take strips of toilet paper and make my own all the time.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
good.
easier with the gasket.
Even at home, huh, JP?
Even at home.
With the actual...
You've seen my roommates.
Yes.
Andy, you spent like 3/4 of your time there in the bathroom.
I did. That's what I do here, Justin.
Yeah, it's all the same.
No reason to leave.
All right, well, fair enough.
It's all
So
about the plumbing.
bring your own ass gaskets and hit the number 2 button if you're ever in Australia. I'm sure we'll hear 888-401-BEER. I'm sure we'll hear from the Aussies about our interpretation of Australia. I do have just a little bit of feedback for us, Doc, because it's been so long. It's been piling up even.
Oh, cool.
You've got mail.
Kick ass.
Some of it's, I don't know, I'm not even going to date any of it. Some of it's probably like 3 weeks old, and we're just getting around to it.
It's all new to us.
One show that we did while you were gone, Doc, that you really would have liked was a BJCP show.
With Kevin.
With Kevin Pratt, exactly. And it was really a good show. Lots of quality beer judging information and that. And I think we're going to do some more of them, especially where we actually do beer evaluations with certified judges on the air.
Oh, good.
And this comes in from Jay Roach from the forums. Says, I just finished listening to the archives and just finished the BJCP show. Just wanted to say that the show was excellent. It was probably one of my favorite episodes thus far, and I really learned a lot that I think will help refine a lot of my judgment methods. I also really found the BJCP philosophy to be very well articulated and very thought-provoking. I'd always thought it may be interested to try to become a BJCP judge, and that show gave me the inspiration and motivation to start studying.
Nice.
So good job to Kevin Pratt for coming in and doing that show with us. Actually inspired Jeff from Houston to get into the whole thing. Now, this is an old one from one of our listeners, Rich, and he had gone away to Belgium. He's probably back now, but I'll read it anyway, because it was about the Kolsch show that we did. You also missed the Dan Gordon show. I guess it wasn't a Kolsch show, but while Dan was here, Jameel brought in several Kolsches with him that he hand-carried back from Cologne.
That alone pisses me off.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite styles.
And we did a whole tasting.
Nice.
A blind tasting with him.
I bet he has more.
So Rich comes in and says, Justin, you partially talented hack. Obviously talented enough to land a blonde German hottie. Although I don't think it requires any talent, just my huge wallet. Right, Daniela?
Yeah, right.
I'm drinking my final beer of the day here in Cologne. I listened to podcasts of the BN on my flight over. It was great that Jameel and Dan Gordon and you other useless buffoons were tasting Kolsch beer on the last show. My seatmate was probably wondering why I was drooling on myself. I'm glad she didn't rip off her 1970s pantsuit and drag me to the lavatory so she could join the Mile High Club before she dies. By the way, my favorite Kolsch was the Gaffel Kolsch. I think it had the most character. It had a very slight DMS, but I think that I needed something interesting and good like that. I also made it to Dusseldorf. My favorite alt was Fußchen. Do you know that one, Daniela? Fußchen?
Fußchen?
Fußchen. Yeah.
No, I cannot tell by your pronunciation.
Probably
either.
not. Well, that was his favorite alt there. Fuchschen.
Fußchen.
That's what I said.
Little foot.
Fußchen.
Just stop it. Don't do it. Don't even try. Stop it.
So that was his favorite alt. Tell Mr. O'Sullivan that canned beer is alive and well here in the fatherland. I'm sipping on Kostritzer Schwarzbier from a can as I thumb this message into my BlackBerry. Keep up the good work and great show. Prost from Rich.
That's nice.
Here's a question that came through a while back, Doc, that I need you to answer. It's about a keg. Says, I have a friend that has a keg he doesn't want, so I was thinking of converting it into a kettle, obviously. He says that it's aluminum, and he wanted to know if that's what my keg was. And my keg's not. It's stainless steel. He said, I guess for some reason I was thinking that they would be stainless steel. And you're right about that. Most of them are now. Correct, Doc?
Yeah. I thought they all were.
He said, and that's kind of what I thought too. He says that if aluminum is the norm, then I'm a happy camper. Thanks for your feedback. This may sound like a silly question, but I haven't bought a keg of beer in a very long time, and when I did the last time, I don't remember very much after having bought it. So basically, I think the first thing that I would say, Doc, and I think I responded to this in an email, his friend is most likely wrong about it being an aluminum keg.
Right.
But there is such a thing as an aluminum keg, as they used to be. So isn't there a way to treat an aluminum keg so that you can use it as a boil kettle?
That's been going round and round lately.
Okay.
Most people say you can use an aluminum kettle anymore. Not to worry that much about it. The amount of aluminum that goes into there, it's not that big an issue.
Okay.
I think more the storage of a low pH wort or beer is more of an issue, but more and more people are using aluminum kettles now.
Okay.
But I'd like to know what kind of keg that was.
Yeah, to find out if it really is.
Right.
It may be a Newcastle keg, because I think the outside of those kegs look different, and it kind of feels like a lighter weight
but it's still stainless?
I don't know.
Just because
it could have a liner inside.
Stainless steel isn't magnetic, so using a magnet test doesn't work either.
Okay.
Aluminum isn't magnetic either.
Have them drill a hole in it.
Why? What happens then?
Well, it's easy to drill into aluminum and not so easy to drill into stainless steel.
Okay.
And if he can mush right through it, he knows it's aluminum.
Okay. I think it was Oz that was telling me if you do have an aluminum kettle, if you just boil water in it, it does something to.
Yeah, I was just reading something about that too. And maybe an acidic water.
Yeah. Okay.
To treat it.
And it just isomerizes the.
It just takes the surface stuff off, so it doesn't go back in there.
You like that I used isomerize, don't you, Doc?
Yeah.
I heard isotomize, and I kind of
so you just
got excited real quick.
But that word you keep using, I do not think it means what you think it means.
That's all right. It sounds good in the context, doesn't it? Thank you.
I'm glad you thought so.
All right, so maybe get back to us and let us know what the brand of keg and maybe what company was using it before. We'll try if we can narrow down for you if it's actually aluminum. But you're saying if it is, Doc, that he could probably use it just the same.
Or he could probably go to the scrapyard and trade it for stainless steel one that's there. Because
that'd probably be the best.
The aluminum is worth more than the stainless to him in the scrapyard, and they'll change it out. Okay. Just say, I want that keg instead of this keg, because it doesn't have to be a good keg necessarily for kegging purposes if you're going to cut it up and use it as a boil kettle.
Okay.
So that'd be your best bet, is to call around in the scrapyards and see if they have any stainless steel kegs and if they'd trade you, and they probably will.
Okay. All right, next piece of feedback addressed to Doc and Justin. Hola, Doc and Justin. And part of this
Hola, mi amigo.
That's right. Part of this we're actually going to hand off to Dave when he gets here. We're going to re-ask him the question, but we can get started on it first, Doc. He says, I have an important and embarrassing question for your show discussions. This is a serious question that I know Justin would love to discuss. He says, I love wheat beer. Unfiltered, yeasty, American wheat, banana, clovey, heffy. Anything unfiltered with wheat. The only problem is, unfiltered beer gives me terrible, stinky farts. Seriously, my favorite beer, Easy Street Wheat, is also one of the worst. My homebrew heffy is bad too. How can I continue to enjoy this beer without the after effects? Is there some way to kill all this yeast once in my system? Should I add Beano during the boil? Please help. Signed, Stinky in Colorado.
Okay. Well, first off, if you're single, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
just go home and hang.
Keep on rocking.
And if you watch Mythbusters, you can't kill yourself with your own farts.
Okay.
But don't put Beano ever into the boil.
Okay.
Because it just kills the enzyme, which is what it is. If you're going to put it anywhere, put it in the fermenter, and all it's going to do is make it a very dry beer.
Okay.
The best place to put the Beano is in you.
Yeah.
Just before you start drinking wheat beers, and it's not the yeast that's doing it. So, just before you start drinking, put a few Beanos in you, and you should be fine. You probably have to up the dose, down the dose, whatever you need to do. And the Beano, the best place is in you before that.
Now, I was having a conversation with the other yeast company last week, and he was kind of saying that it is the yeast inside you, that the yeast that you're putting in there does live for a good period of time, and that it is producing gases.
Well, everything in there is producing gases, and it's a lot of the unfermentables that you're giving them, too.
Okay. I think it's also the digestion of the yeast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's
you're using the dead yeast cells.
Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's the yeast producing gas that gives you gas. It's your body producing
you're
gas
metabolizing
from the yeast.
Right. You're metabolizing things, and when it comes down to what's it going to do with that last electron, and it can't put it onto oxygen, so it puts it onto hydrogen
and then
sulfur.
It produces methane.
Yeah.
See, I think this is part of the reason why I can't handle the heffy, because for some reason it doesn't go out the other end. It just comes back up in its original form for me. It never gets digested.
We just have to pre-medicate you. We'll find a way to get that.
We need to find something. Yeah, there's some combination that's going to work for me.
Do you toss it up a little bit when you drink Hefeweizen?
Yeah, the next morning, invariably.
Really?
It's the only beer that comes back up.
Wow.
Yeah, every time. Sean O'Sullivan, you're on the Brewcast. What's happening, brother?
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going real well.
Hey, Sean. It's 103 degrees in Pacheco.
Yeah, it absolutely is. What are you up to, man?
I'm out here at Barclays, actually. Just watched a little World Cup, and so I'll remind everybody that we have the Summit Beer thing going on tomorrow. here at Barclays.
At Barclays.
14 breweries out here.
Okay. Sean?
Who've brewed this beer, and
Sean?
It's a one hop beer, so it's
Sean?
all one recipe too, so it'll be a good time.
Hey, Sean. You sound totally sedated, man.
Yeah. Dude, I'm out of my fucking mind. I just called in to say hey, and I'm here with Motor right now, and it's I could be drunk of the week actually.
I was gonna say you've just
Italy. I know Daniela's like she's probably like sobbing.
Fuck you.
Oh.
Fuck you.
Oh.
Fuck
the
your
place was.
face.
I know. I'm sorry, sweetheart. But it was amazing here. The whole like. The vibe. The place was packed.
Okay.
And we've just been drinking. We've been drinking German beers actually.
Oh, nice.
And anyway,
good enough for that, right? Well, Sullivan, you've made Brewing Network history. You're the earliest drunk of the week ever to call in.
Yeah. I think there's probably people that are
that don't call.
Just haven't called in yet.
Okay. I think all those other people are busy texting. They can't call in.
All right. Hey, we're actually going to do a bit about the Summit Hop Festival we went to at Drake's yesterday.
Yeah.
And so Sean giving us the reminder that at Barclays tomorrow in Berkeley, they're doing another Summit Hop Festival.
Yes.
And then at the Tornado, I think on the 19th, there's yet another one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So lots of chances to catch these Summit beers, which were great. We're going to do a full report on them. So.
Okay.
Thanks, brother. See ya.
All right, my brother.
Did you hear that? There was actually one at the Drake. Yeah. Like, it was really horrible hanging out with you guys the other day.
Oh,
I hated it. But I met at Barclays.
Goodness sake.
He was pretty loaded, man.
Yep. Hey, I got a response finally
from
Match.com. to the Brewing Network Jane hat. Remember we put out a few weeks ago that we want the Brewing Network Jane hat to travel the world, and we want photo opportunities all over the place. And it could be in the United States, obviously, too.
Sure.
Most of you know that that's part of the world. And it could be from anywhere else, too. We really wanted to just be pictures taken from interesting places. So we asked for email stories of where you could take the Jane hat. And summertime's the perfect time because people doing the family vacations. I've not received a response before this one single lone response from one of our great Australian listeners, believe it or not.
I hope that's just because everyone's really wanting to pick out the best thing. Right?
If I would have had the Jane hat, I would have taken it down to Mexico.
Could have done that, yeah.
Worn that yarn thing and like
put it on
95-degree temperatures.
Hooker. Yeah.
I think that would have been Doc's bathing suit at least once, and that's not a pretty thing.
All right, I got to get through this because we got to take a break and then get to Dave. Basically, he says, BN folks, just listen to the show where you talked about sending the Jane hat on tour with BN listeners. I had to email you and let you know I will be headed down under in September of this year. Yes, you have yet another Australian listener. I'll be in my hometown of Brisbane where I think Oz lives. There's a good photo op right there. Plus, I'll be in Hobart, Tasmania, home of Australia's oldest brewery, Cascade Brewery. I think a photo of the hat on that brewery tour would be a worthy addition to its travel log. I'll also be in Melbourne and Sydney on the same trip, so I'd be honored to have the opportunity of hosting the hat and would promise to take good care of it, make sure it came home at a reasonable hour, make sure it didn't drink anything that I wouldn't, and make sure that Oz keeps his pants on while wearing it.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Yeah. He listens to the show while traveling and loves it and a lot of good things like that. I say we give it to him. This is from Jason in Australia. So, Jason, when you hear this, send us an email of where to send the Jane hat. What do you think, Daniela?
I think that sounds good.
It's a good idea.
One of our listeners in the chat room, though, is offering that he wants a Jane hat because he wants his girlfriend to wear it the next time they're having sex.
Okay.
And he's going to send pictures.
Absolutely. We will have it sent from Jason's trip in Australia directly to that person in the chat room.
So you cannot have sex until you receive that.
That's right. So keep it under wraps until then. All right. So finally getting some responses here to the BN Jane hat, which needs to travel the world.
So is this thing getting laundered between?
No.
Or do we even want to ask?
No.
It's a lot like a mung, Doc, and you don't clean the mung until it actually walks away on its own two yeasty feet.
Oh, mung.
So, and yes, it must still be worn even after traveling the world and being munganized. Now,
Can I take it first?
You cannot, because we've already decided this is our first email. Jason in Australia is going to get it.
Okay, I'll mail it to him.
And the deal is everyone's got to take real good care of it, too. It's a lot like the Stanley Cup of the Brewing Network, Doc. So people aren't just going to sop up beer with this thing. It'll be a little sweaty. But
I think it'll be a lot sweaty. Even at the anniversary party.
Yeah.
Can we get it back before the end of August?
We'll have to wait to hear from Jason.
Because I'll take it out to Burning Man.
Oh, now that's a good place for it right there. But although you don't have any responsibility when you're at Burning Man, and
none.
There needs to be a responsible party in charge of the Jane hat. It's actually a very sacred and important hat.
All right, you need to start
I'll do what
list.
I can.
We need a list for that because now everybody wants it.
Okay. Well, see, now where was everybody when we announced this a month ago?
Well, people forget about it too.
Okay.
We have to keep reminding them.
All right. So maybe
you're gonna start a thread on the forum, a sticky thread, and you're gonna put down who wants the Jane hat, and they have to give us what they're gonna do with the Jane hat.
I got a sticky thread.
Okay, that's what we'll do. I think the Jane hat needs its own email.
The Jane hat is gonna be a sticky thread.
JaneHat@thebrewingnetwork.com.
Last piece of feedback I want to get through, because it's from another brand new female listener. Ooh. Says, I just thought I'd send you guys a big toast for being so awesome. My boyfriend, Cub Brewer on the forums.
She's in the chat actually today.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he started listening a while back near the beginning and would force me to listen to it. Well, now I have you guys downloaded on my iPod, and I listen to your show every week. In fact, I was just Cub Brewer's assistant brewer today, and I'm going to learn how to brew. Keep up the good work, BN. You guys rock. From Emily.
Oh, that's awesome.
So another female listener joining the Madhouse here, and we appreciate it.
Oh, female listener.
Yeah.
That's worth at least 2 points.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break. Welcome, Emily, to the chat room for the first time, I think, also. And welcome to anybody else who's in the chat room for the very first time. We are quite happy to have you.
A lot of things in the chat room today. Casey Dave got married. Congratulations to him.
Oh, congrats. Good work, all right.
Crazy Jack's 28th anniversary for his wedding.
Congratulations. And really good work on Mrs. Crazy Jack.
Yeah.
Whew, good work there.
I know. A guy called Funzy hanging out with us tonight, which I love.
Funzy.
Hey.
A lot of new listeners actually in the chat room tonight too.
Wonderful.
Good.
That's what we like to see. Well, hang in there, newbies. When we come back, Dave Logsdon from Yeast Company is going to be with us. Send your questions to Daniela, or you can call us at 888-401-BEER.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
And now back to the Brewcasters.
The Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
Welcome back to the Yeast Show, part 7 or so. We like to do yeast shows around here.
We are yeasty beasties over
Yeasty, the Yeasty boys.
This is the first time that we're going to have Dave Logsdon from Yeast Company on the horn with us. Let me see if I can get him here. We're doing the old Skype deal so that it comes through clear and nice. Let's see if we can get Dave here. Just hang in there. Hopefully everything will work properly.
Hi, Dave. Regis Philbin here.
Yeah. He's like, forget it. I'm not answering.
Here's our lifeline.
Hey, Dave, you there, buddy?
I am.
All right.
Nice.
All right, wonderful. Mr. Dave Logsdon from Yeast Company on the phone with us here at the Brewing Network. How's things going in your neck of the woods, Dave?
It's fantastic.
Yeah?
Beautiful day, lovely weekend, filled with sports and softball with my daughters.
Who's winning?
Well, they took second place in the tournament, so they did a great job.
Beautiful.
Pretty good.
All right, nice work. With us in the studio, just so that you know, Dave, we've got the lovely Daniela, JP, and Dr. Scott. Of course, myself, Justin. We're all just going to throw questions at you at random until your head explodes, is kind of what we think we're going to do.
Hi, Dr. Scott. Hi, Daniela.
How you doing?
Hi there.
No.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Nobody likes gay pee. Don't worry about that, Mr. Logsdon. Okay, very cool. We're actually really excited to have you in here, Dave. We've done a few yeast shows before. It's a very popular topic. One of the more complicated and controversial issues in homebrewing, because everybody's got their theories. So we like to kind of be thorough about it. And your particular product is different than everybody else's too. So just been kind of waiting to get you in here. We're real happy about that. So thanks for doing the show first and foremost.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, for those of you listeners who don't know, and you'd have to be really new to brewing if you don't, and that's okay too, we're happy to have you. Why Yeast Company, their product, and one of the original yeast products, is the Why Yeast Smack Pack. And the Smack Pack is different from the others because it's basically... Well, Dave, why don't you tell us what the Smack Pack is and what makes it different?
Well, we put the Smack Pack together over 20 years ago when we first got in the yeast business. And I designed that package to help proof the yeast that there was good, viable yeast in the package, shown by active fermentation that was evident with the package swelling. And that was a cornerstone of what we felt was important to be able to ship yeast around the world to brewers everywhere.
Yeah. Now before that, what was the medium that yeast would come in, and how did things change when you started that Smack Pack?
Well, let's see. I started home brewing quite a few years ago, back in the late 70s, and there were some vials of yeast on the market. I remember the first one I found was a little vial with a small film of yeast on it, sitting on a shelf in an 80-degree store, and there was no live yeast in that. There was no knowledge of how to take care of yeast by home brewers that didn't come in a dry packet.
Okay.
So there wasn't much out there then, and I saw that there might be an opportunity to be able to put a good package together that people could count on for having live, healthy yeast.
Right. Now, what was your background that set you up to do? Because now I could see that as a problem, but I'm too dumb to do anything about it, Dave. So, what is your background that made you say, "Hey, this yeast can be improved, and I can do that"? Were you a chemist beforehand?
Actually, a biochemist studying microbiology and food science, and doing a lot of work with fermentation science, cultures in school, and as a beer drinker, I became involved with home brewing quickly. Once I gained some laboratory experience, I was able to culture yeast and found that, boy, this seems to make my beer better when I've got a good yeast culture. Okay. So that was my background in getting into this business. And then we worked with a number of breweries back in the mid-1980s to help them get their yeast for their breweries going. And at the same time, we were putting the Smack Pack together to get that out to home brewers. And along the same time, I got involved with a couple partners, and we started Full Sail Brewing Company, and that's where I started brewing professionally.
Wonderful.
While we were putting the laboratory together. So I had a lot of good hands-on experience on various levels of brewing, and was able to help a lot of other brewers at the same time, and we just kind of evolved from there.
Are you still a part of Full Sail?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, we remain owners of a company that's been growing well for going on 20 years now. It'll be our 20th year coming up there as well. And I've seen a lot of fun growth and exciting times through the brewing industry, not only with our own brewery, but helping a lot of other breweries as well. It's been a great career.
Full Sail's a cool place too, and one of the great beers coming out of now. I know you have breweries in Oregon. Is that the home of Full Sail in Oregon, or not?
Yeah, we're located in Hood River, Oregon.
Okay,
not too far from where Why Yeast Laboratories is. And then we also have our original brew house as a 20-barrel brewery that we have down in Portland also. So we run that little 20-barrel brew house, and then our
that's John Harris, right?
Yeah, John heads up. He does a lot of our R&D brewing and test brews, and some of our smaller specialty lot beers that we produce. He takes care of that. And then out in Hood River, we run 250-barrel brew house there, and we do quite a bit of full-sale product as well as some contract brewing for Miller for their Henry Weinhardt brand.
Ah, the old Henry Weinhardts. Many a drunken high school day spent with old Henry, David. I'm going to be honest about it.
Good memories, I'm sure.
Yeah. The mornings were rough, but the evenings were just magical, David.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
I drank my fill of Henry Weinhardts, too.
What was the greatest thing about Henry? I'm glad you mentioned that, because really the greatest thing about Henry Weinhardts back in the day was variety. You could have one brand of beer, but on the shelf there were always 4 different Henry Weinhardts. So back then, I just felt like, hey, now that's great. I always know I'm getting a good beer, and I can pick which flavor of good beer I want. And where I was, Henry was really the only different style beer.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that came out.
You're right. Yeah, that's
something.
where that was brewed right there in Portland, and that's where we weren't far from. And I probably shared a lot of those same different flavors with you.
It was good. I remember. I think my favorite was old Henry Weinhardt's Private Reserve.
Yep, the standard.
Yeah, the standard. It was. Go ahead.
That was a classic.
Yeah, I'd move to the other ones, but I'd always come back to the old Private Reserve.
All the bottles had a different bottling number.
Yeah.
On it, and I had a friend that had a collection of everything, and one of his collections was the Henry Weinhardt's bottles.
Nice.
And he had all the different numbers. So he would hunt people down. You got number 17?
I need 17.
Yeah.
He was a drunk. All right, back to business. Sorry, that just took me on a little bit down memory lane there, David. I didn't know you guys were a part of it.
It's what little memory Justin has left.
Yeah. My entire memory lane is a one-way street with a lot of beer cans on the side of it. It's the whole thing.
So I want to ask, how did you get the name Y Yeast? Where did that come from?
Well, that's a native name for Mount Hood, Oregon.
Okay.
The Indian name was Y Yeast, and that's where we lived at. And we just used that, and nobody else in the world knows what that means if you aren't from Hood River, Oregon. So it's a little local colloquialism.
All right, that is interesting because why yeast?
Yeah, why yeast?
Yeah. Okay, let's get down to business here with you, David. I think that there's a few misnomers and misconceptions about the smack packs that go around out there, and people want to know exactly what it is that happens. I mean, what we can see it inflating. There's obviously some activity. Some people think that there's actually some yeast propagation and multiplication going on in there. Some people actually think that's happening. Others just say that it's just waking up the yeast and getting it active. So directly from the horse's mouth, if you will, what is it that happens when you smack a Y yeast smack pack?
Good question. When the package is activated, we're mixing nutrients with the dormant yeast, and what's happening is we're really just energizing the yeast and getting their metabolic activity progressing. And there's not very much cell reproduction at that point, depending on time, but it's mostly a matter of just beginning metabolic activity, and you can see that from the CO2 that's produced during that portion of the process. And the key thing that we wanted to make sure was that people knew that like I mentioned earlier, that the yeast was alive and active, and it's going to reduce the lag time once that yeast is pitched by that amount of time that it has to come out of dormancy. We have a shelf life on our product that extends it out a period of time, and the yeast are slowly depleting some of those nutrients during that storage until it gets to the home brewer, and so the nutrient pack will give a little bit of a boost to those cells. Some of the nutrients that they've depleted are being replaced, and metabolism begins.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is kind of advocated with home brewers is to feed your yeast the day you're gonna pitch it. You're not gonna really get a lot of cell propagation out of it, but you're gonna wake them up, give them, they've just depleted all their glycogen, so get them up, get them going. So you're basically doing it right there in your package for them.
It's a sterile environment, and allows that to happen, and it gets them going, because basically the cell count in the activator package, that snack pack that we produce, is 100 billion cells, and that's about the pitch rate that most professional brewers would use to pitch into their beer. So that's what we were targeting with the cell counts that we have.
Okay, so that kind of leads me into a whole other discussion that I'm not sure I'm ready to jump into yet. Let me just give you a heads up. Because a lot of people talk about doing yeast starters. And there's even a little information about yeast starters on your website. But if you're saying that you've already put in the accurate amount of yeast cells, the 100 billion you said?
Yes.
Then a starter, especially since if your smack pack is sort of starting it already, there's actually no need for any yeast propagation. We don't need more cells in that, and therefore maybe wouldn't need to do a starter?
Absolutely correct. With a 5-gallon or 20-liter batch of beer of up to 1060 original gravity, the cell counts are pretty much where you want them already.
Okay.
It makes it convenient just to be able to activate the package and go within a matter of hours or stay on the outside.
Now,
is this pitching into 5 gallons? Did we say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Have you done any tests in the labs where you threw in a smack pack just after letting it to do it thing, use it as you're supposed to, smack it, wait for it to go, pitch it into 5 gallons, and then on the opposite side, actually done a yeast starter where people tend to think that it wakes the yeast up even more, it gets it really ready to go. Have you done any side-by-side comparisons like that?
Yeah, we've done quite a few experiments. We do experiments on a regular basis that involve different pitch rates, aeration rates, original gravity, worts, so that we can see what the not only the performance of the yeast, the fermentation time, but also we'll run it through a sensory profile as well, and have people do some blind tasting and say, well, which pitch rate has the flavor profile for the style of beer that we're making?
Yeah.
All the way from like 10 to the third to about 3 to 4 times which we would normally pitch. So we really like to cover a broad spectrum when we do those types of experiments to see what is optimum. And it is affected a lot by personal preference, but also mostly by beer style and the strain selection, yeast strains you're using for that particular style.
Okay.
A good example of that would be the pitching rate for a German style Hefeweizen might be quite different than for a German style Pilsner.
Right.
And the rate of fermentation and the esters that are developed often due to the actual pitch rate, because as the pitch rate is increased and the higher the pitch rate that the brewers use, the less cell doubling that occurs to deplete the sugars in the wort. Understood?
Yeah.
We have lots of yeast that are all going to grow a little bit. If we have less yeast that are all going to grow more in that same amount of sugar. So the more yeast growth and reproduction there is, most commonly the more esters that are developed during the fermentation. So for a nice fruity estery beer like a Hefeweizen, lower pitch rate and actually lower aerations, people's preferences tend to be pitch on the low side.
Okay.
Whereas with a Pilsner style, for example, they want to clean and crisp and dry and lower in esters. A higher pitch rate tends to produce that style better.
Okay.
For the most part.
So do you change your cell count on a per style basis then in your Y-Yeast packs? For example,
we did 100 billion plus or minus on all the packs
across the board
for consistency. Yeah.
Okay.
And we because for controlling, say for example on a Hefeweizen, we recommend you can do pretty much the same thing by reducing the amount of aeration.
Okay.
And keeping a standard pitch rate, and that's also again is going to affect the ester profile as well. So for consistency and uniformity, we try to let people know they've got the same amount of yeast in every package we produce, and then they can work from there if they want to adjust their pitch rates by either propagation or actual dosing rates that they use and how many gallons. There's a lot of brewers that brew 10, 15, or 20 gallons, as JP would certainly confirm by the number of big pots they've been putting out at more beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got a question about smack pack longevity. And I've had a smack pack that I forgot about in the refrigerator for a while. And you pull it out and say, oh, wow, it's like 6 months old, 8 months old. Can you still use it? Have you done any tests on that?
We do. We run them throughout the 6 months and even beyond. Normally we see on viability and, the difference between viability and vitality have an impact. But vitality through the first month has kind of a linear drop in the strain. In each given strain is a little bit different, but they have kind of a linear drop, and then they kind of flatten out after about a month under good storage conditions. And you don't see too much change after that. So the lag time can increase some due to the older package. That's almost always a given because the glycogen reserves are pretty well depleted towards the end of that shelf life. But given either you making a starter at that point or even direct pitching, your cell counts are going to vary a little bit. The vitality may be suffering some. In most cases it is. And again, that's strain dependent a lot. Some strains are much more stable than others. Others have a higher metabolic rate that tend to burn themselves up a little quicker. But towards the end of the shelf life, you're going to have a little bit, maybe a little longer lag is to be expected. But normally we see some pretty good fermentations, though. Once the vitality of the yeast is brought back up to the nutrients and aeration of the wort, I'd really like to take it out to the listeners and get their feedback.
See what's happening for them.
Experiments we've done, it's been pretty consistent and good overall. Fresh is always best. That's with yeast. That's always been the case. We do a lot to try to keep the stability of the package in optimum condition. We're working against some variables that's hard to keep vitality and viability at peak levels that all brewers would like to see, and at the same time to get them out to brewers wherever they are in the world is a challenge at the same time too. So we kind of walk that line, and our best suppliers that we ship out to are our retailers and our distributors. The ones that order weekly or every other week or so, keep a fresh stock rotated. They're the ones that have very few problems coming back from brewers. So that's what we like to see, keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
And it's a different scope than it is on a professional level, where yeast is almost a daily issue for vitality and freshness. We're working against a lot of other elements when we're trying to get it out to home brewers.
All right. I do have a question about if we should do starters. Somebody wants to know if they're going to make a starter, can they make one with an unsmacked pack? He's thinking that it might be easier just to kind of open it up and dump the yeast into a starter than to actually smack it.
You can, yeah. If you've got a good one of the things about starters is as long as it's a good nutrient-based starter, that the yeast are going to improve their vitality and not suffer from what's in the starter or how the starter's handled. Then certainly that can be done.
Okay. All right. Another one I got from our listeners is about high gravity pitching. And I did see a little bit about this on your website as well. And the question comes through as, we're supposed to pitch large amounts of yeast for high gravity beers. If we pitch the amount of yeast required for, say, a 1085 beer into a 1030 beer, would we improve our beer and our fermentation for that matter? So I guess kind of over pitching. What do you think about the results of that?
Well, so you're saying that instead of, say, for example, pitching 100 million cells in a 5-gallon batch, maybe we'd do 200 billion.
Yeah, I
double
think so.
Or even triple or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, you can do that. That is certainly an option, and you can pitch enough yeast to ferment out a low gravity wort in about 24 hours, or maybe even less.
Okay.
So yeah, that can be done. You're going to get a very rapid fermentation, but the results are not very not desirable for the most part. Generally tend to be very dry and not much of an ester profile. Kind of gets a little bit of a bite. For some reason, I'm not sure what happens during the fermentation, but it just, if it was a good thing, I think professional brewers should probably be pitching that much yeast and fermenting out in a day so they can make their beer in 3 days instead of 13.
Right.
But they don't. There's a reason for that. So controlled pitch rates are important. We don't like to underpitch. We don't like to overpitch either.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fair enough.
And we. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to ask another question, so you can finish that. Your thought there.
Oh, some people, and we have always kind of tend to overpitch a little bit is better than underpitching. As a rule of thumb, that's probably a good case.
Okay.
But I know a number of very, very good brewers that prefer to slightly underpitch than overpitch.
Okay.
And they'll underpitch as much as 20% if they feel their pitch rate in that range will actually produce a better beer with a little more esters. And mostly we're talking about like pale ales and warm fermentation beers that you want a little bit more floral and fruitiness from the yeast. And so a little bit of an underpitch makes a little more slow growth, a little more esters, a little more flavorful, a little more character, better character of the beer.
Does that have to do with stressing the yeast because you've not put enough in there to do the job that produces those esters?
Well, it's the stress is maybe a little bit of a push on the terminology.
Okay.
I would say if you're doing a Hefeweizen, for example, or a Wit beer, where you want a lot of esters, and you are stressing by relatively low pitch rates and relatively low aeration, both of those are going to stress the yeast a little bit, and you get, like I say, more growth and more flavor and ester development.
Okay, I gotcha. Someone that wants to...
On the other end...
Go ahead, Dave, sorry.
Yeah? The other end of the spectrum is Pilsner beers that flood the world, and they are, most of those are produced in under a couple of weeks now, and they're very fast fermentations, high pitch rates. And when I say high, it's not as high as what we had talked about, maybe, but sometimes 50% higher than what one might pitch for an ale.
Right.
To get a 5, 6, 7 day fermentation on a Pilsner, and that's pretty fast.
Okay.
But they're very clean, and that's what they want. They want a clean, light, crisp beer.
Yeah.
So that helps make that style.
And that's what we talk about here a lot, actually, with with doing yeast starters and pitching huge amounts of yeast, is having that yeast really rip through the beer kind of fast, and it comes out cleaner and often drier, and you're kind of eliminating a lot of those esters like a Pils that you don't want. So I guess that's where you're talking about overpitching is a good deal.
Yeah, that's, with an ale, if you've got a fermentation that's under 4 days, I think on most nominal gravities, I think you'll find that they tend to be kind of squeaky clean. A 5-day ferment, I think, is what makes a nice rounder profile.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, other than manipulating temperature, if you have something in a normal range of, say, 68 Fahrenheit, that's going to give a nice flavor profile and a nice ester profile. If it ferments out in 3 days, it's going to be a lighter, drier beer, and it's not going to have near as much character, in my opinion. So
okay.
That's where our preference is to try to do that in the middle of the road, so to speak. Finding that right amount that's not too high, not too low.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess, when you're putting out a product like that and you're putting out that many different styles and that many different products, that's really what you have to do. I mean, Doc, wouldn't you agree? You can't, if you specialized every single thing, you would almost take away from what the home brewer can decide to do with it. So I kind of like that middle of the road kind of idea.
Yeah.
So we should try to supply a consistent product, but at the same time, there's 5 of us on staff that have brewed professionally at Yeast.
Yeah.
We've got brewers there, and they are there for technical support. Every one of them answer the phone, talk to home brewers, professional brewers, on any aspect of brewing. These guys, my guys have worked in small breweries, large breweries, home brewing. We've worked within the range of what we expect from our customers. And then we're there. If they drop us an email, we get back to them. Say one question's about answered about pitch rates or formulation or temperature control or lagering times or anything along the brewing scope. We're there to help them out. And that's the fun part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good staff to have. A bunch of brewers around. Good for you. That's lucky.
You know, probably on Monday you're going to get inundated with calls.
Well, that's all right. Like I say, that's what we're there for. We've always, we've been doing this for more than 20 years now, and we've always produced the best product that we know how to make, and we're always there for service, and that's what I think helps our customers as much as anything, to know that they can count on us to not only back up our product, but help them out and make sure they get the optimum out of it for what they want to do. Because like I say, brewers are creative. They like to experiment. Sometimes they want to know where the boundaries are or where the limits are at, and we can help them along that way. And it's always great to get feedback when brewers are doing different things, and we get to sample a lot of their wares. We're fortunate enough to have them share with us, and when we don't have beer coming in from the outside to take a look at, we're always running our pilot plant too. So we've always got lots of things going on to talk to brewers about with some of the experiments that we do, and over the years we've done quite a variety of things, and there's always new things to try.
Beautiful.
Great.
I like that. You got to keep experimenting and checking things out.
Yeah, you got to keep that experimental beer flowing.
David Logsdon from Yeast Company is on with us. We're going to take a quick break. I do have your questions, listeners, in front of me. A whole stack of them for you, Dave. So hope you can hang out with us for a little while longer, and I'll fire these off at you when we get back.
We'll be ready.
All right. It's YYeastLabs.com. You can check out the Yeast products right there, and, of course, you can find them at your local homebrew shop. We're here with Dave Logsdon. We'll be right back on the Brewing Network.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
You're listening to Three Guys.
Excuse me, what about me?
Yeah, sorry. You're listening to Three Guys and One Girl use a radio show as an excuse to drink more beer. The Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
All right, I hope you all had time to refill your glass and join us back here with Dave Logsdon of the Yeast Company, home of the Smack Pack, Dave. An all original product from Yeast. I should tell the listeners so that they don't think that you and I just have some sort of weird pausing thing between us. There's a lot of delay that goes from our computer to Dave's cell phone there, so anytime we talk over each other, I apologize for that. It's the nature of wanting to interview people from all over the place. So
I just thought you got him in between a gulp.
Yeah. People think that you're just hanging around drinking, Dave.
Busted. I'm busted.
Fair enough. Actually, let's do a fun question for you, since we're talking about you having yourself a pint. People want to know, which is your favorite yeast, and then what type of beer to be made with that yeast?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a tough one, too.
Yeah, it's got to be tough.
I love so many beer styles.
Okay.
And if I were to tell you probably what I brew the most and enjoy the most at home, that would probably be a tip right there.
Okay.
So I've been very avid lambic influenced brewer for a number of years now.
All right.
And we produced a wonderful Flanders Red. That's a nice little variation of that, but the goose and producing some fruit lambics seasonally from that. I keep a number of large wood barrels in my cellar, and I keep topped up through the winter, and then I draw them down through the summer, and they make some pesh or some nice creek from our local fruit in the valley here, and just love the blending of the young and old to make goose. And I'd have to say that's one of my favorite styles all the way around. I love, like I say, I love hoppy pale ales. IPAs are one of my favorites. That's what I'm having right now. But then I love a great Pilsner, Hefeweizen, some of the Weizenbachs, and the range is fantastic to be able to enjoy all those different styles.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing about it. But yeah, I guess my going home from work is a glass of goose.
Beautiful. And so which of the Y Yeast will you use for that? What's the number so people know?
We use the Belgian Lambic blend, and I've inoculated the barrels that I've got working now a number of years ago, and I haven't inoculated them since. They just get topped up after they get drawn down through the course of the summer, and when I fill them back up, and I'll be at a point in before too long where I'll probably clean some of the barrels and maybe bring a fresh inoculant in. But the balance, the profiles of the beer have just been wonderful, so I haven't had to do anything. It's just been the lazy man's brewing technique, I guess.
I like that.
So do you ferment them? Do you ferment them normally first and then put them into the barrels to inoculate them, or do you just put the wort straight into the barrel?
I put the wort straight into the barrel, inoculated them the barrels originally, and just let that culture continue for several years now.
So you don't use a regular ale yeast in primary and then put them in there? A lot of people do that.
No, I don't. And that's a good question, because I know a lot of brewers do that. I see a lot of postings about that, using ale yeast like a 1056 or something like that. But the Saccharomyces is in the lambic blend, and so in order to keep a better balance, in my opinion, just inoculating just as it would be done with all the cultures at the same time.
Yeah.
The Saccharomyces take off first that are in there anyway, and they ferment the majority of the wort, and as the pH drops, then the Brettanomyces start growing, and then the lactic start growing as well. So you have a series of fermentations that go on over a period of about 3 to 6 months until the basis of the beer pretty much starts to come together at that point.
I was going to ask, do you think it shortens the total ferment time rather than the two-stage?
I think overall, to get the Brettanomyces gone earlier by having them there as the pH drops, that probably shortens the time a little bit. But I think also it keeps a better flavor profile of having those indigenous yeasts that are typically for that style just in the fermentation only, not bringing in that ale culture.
Yeah, because sometimes it's going to take you a while to get the Brett characteristics to come out. And I was just wondering.
Well, almost always, yeah.
Yeah, but if you're going to do it all at once, like you're saying with your mix, and if it can blend it better and get it going faster, I'm going to get the Brett probably coming out a couple of months earlier than if I separated it out, did an ale first, and then pitched in some of the lambic blend.
You're going to get a little more time, and depending on how you create that mash to get the nice substrate for the Brett and the lactic to grow on are as equally as important, and also to keep the body in the beer. That 6-hour mash that's traditionally done for lambics is there to create that nice starchy, proteinaceous mash that gives a lot of non-fermentables for the Saccharomyces, but good fermentables that'll break down for the Brettanomyces and the lactic. So it's a combination of those things, which cultures you're pitching and what that substrate is. A lot of lambics that I judge in competition tend to be thin on the palate,
right.
Kind of. I don't think they get the a heavy enough or a thick enough mash. And when I say thick, I mean just not a lot of complex sugars left, right. And a lot of starches or polysaccharides left in there that the Saccharomyces won't ferment, and it keeps a lot of the body and texture in the beer. And that's what I think is important in that style. So getting that basis, just like any beer you make, it's all starts done. The beer that you set there, that foundation is what's going to end up in the glass. So regardless of what you're pitching or what you're doing, you got to get that dialed in for the style to really make it click and make it work.
So the early planning, and you don't want to end up with a really dry kind of lambic, kind of dry, thin.
If you end up dry and thin on the palate,
right.
and as soon as the acid starts coming up from the Brett and especially the lactic growth, then all of a sudden they become pretty stringent and harsh, and that starts to get out of balance pretty quick.
So
and you even see that with some commercial examples that come from Belgium that have some age on them. Some of them tend to be pretty acidic and pretty tart and thin, even just from the age and transit and that particular batch. They vary, every one of them, and even how they're blended, they vary quite a bit as well.
So basically, compensate in the mash. Start it from the beginning.
Get that. Yeah, if you're going to do that style, get that nice starchy mash that they're using that raw wheat and a lot of maceration in the mash itself in order to create that nice substrate.
So a lot of dextrin, something that's going to come out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if you added maltodextrins, that probably like some beers call for, that would probably be a benefit as well if you have any trouble getting it in there. So yeah.
Had some listeners asking what temp you would ferment your lambics at.
Well, brew them in the fall. It tends to be on the cool side, and they ferment probably in the low 60s for the most part.
Okay, that's pretty low.
Yeah, it's a little on the low side. They probably warm up a little bit some during the heat of fermentation, but probably not a lot. So the low to mid 60s is probably what they see mostly. Sometimes if I end up brewing later in the year and the cellar's a little colder, sometimes they can even be down in the 50s. And yeah, I fill the barrel up and I just set it, and I just don't even look at it till next spring. And so I don't really. Sometimes I go and do a little sampling, but usually I just let the time take care of itself and work on what I've already kegged off or bottled up in the meantime.
So you don't totally empty your barrels. You just top them up every year?
I pull them down just about where they're empty usually, and then fill the whole thing back up with a brew or two. Yeah.
Okay.
Someone else want to know if you've ever experimented with brewing 100% Brettanomyces fermented beers.
We have. That's a good question. That's an interesting thing too, because Brettanomyces by itself, I think we run about 3 or 4 different strains in our lab, different Brett strains, and they all vary a little bit. But one thing I mentioned earlier is that a number of them don't grow that well until the pH drops, and so doing 100% tends to be a little bit difficult to get the fermentation underway very active. But once it does get going, they will tend to ferment out pretty well, and they could. When you get 100% Brett, it can be very strong and intense in flavor.
And would it be,
there is one.
Would it be too dry too? Possibly.
Oh, possibly. It's just they're a little awkward on their own. The one that I tasted that we did in the lab that used the one Brett strain that a number of the California brewers, Vinny Salurso and a couple of the other guys have been using, along with Peter Buchart from New Belgium. Ferments better by itself than most of the other Bretts we've seen, and it seems to be a little bit different than most Bretts, and it doesn't quite have that sweaty horse blanket character that Brett
the JP has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's a little bit different, and it was very dry and very tart, and I didn't find it that appealing. So I think that by itself maybe needs some work yet.
Okay. All right. I've got a lot of questions for you in front of me, Dave. I'm trying to have like a flow so that we don't just jump from topic to topic, but it's getting impossible. So, so what I may do is just throw some questions at you. A couple people are asking about the smack packs again, and the question is, it's basically why the smack pack and not a truly pitchable medium that doesn't require any sort of starting. You would just kind of dump it in. They're curious the advantages or how that came about for you.
Well, you can take the activator smack pack and just open it up and pour it in. That would be typical of not having any starters. And if you can certainly do it that way. There's nothing really that's going to be adverse, especially if the yeast is fresh. As long as you know it's active and the yeast is viable, nothing wrong with that. And, when the yeast are fresh in those packs, they start to swell within a few hours, and you've got activity. you could activate it when you start brewing and certainly be ready to pitch. Or like I say, you don't have to activate it.
Okay.
So that it really is their choice. But like I said, when we got into this 20 some years ago, it was wanting to make sure that people knew that the yeast was alive before they put all their work into 20 gallons of beer and not have anything fermenting it. So
see, and I would have personally found your house and thanked you for that at that time, because as I understand it, it was really a difficult thing to get good, healthy, viable yeast, and that was really something revolutionary. And that's a good point, just that you can see that the yeast is happy and ready to go to town.
I think if you did that, Dave would have gotten a handshake and a restraining order.
Exactly.
It's possible.
Oh, my first beer was with a smack pack, and it said let it swell to whatever it swells to, and then throw it in. And I knew nothing about viable yeast.
Yeah.
It was just boil this stuff up, smack this pack, watch it get thick here, and then throw it in. And the first one didn't do too much. It swelled a little bit.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any better.
My first time it swelled real fast.
Yeah. So then, but the subsequent ones after that, that's what it's supposed to look like. And yeah, and the ferment went a lot better with that one. I think I had it too cold.
Yeah, there's variables that make it challenging, and you and I both were beginning brewers at one time, and just like everybody out there, you learn so much through just the experience because there's so many variables.
Yeah.
There's temperature, aeration, or viability. It's a lot to get right. All the points to make a beer that you're after. So that little bit of trial and error, a little bit of experience starts to build, and again, I think it makes it fun at the same time.
There's a lot of things as new brewers that we don't know that we leave up to guys like you. So hey, thanks for that.
Oh.
Thanks for the effort and all that.
Let's take a phone call. We've got Jamil on the phone who wants to chime in here. Jamil Zainashev.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Jamil. How are you?
Great. How are you
made
doing?
It back from Orlando, okay? I'm doing good. Thanks.
Yeah. I think in the chat room some people are thinking that you and I disagree on some points of yeast or something like that, and I think the important thing to take away, and I think both you and I would agree that the most important thing is the yeast health. What you really want is healthy yeast. And it's better to have fewer healthy cells than a whole bunch of unhealthy cells. Right?
And that certainly happens, exactly. Yes, that's very true, because yeast, for varying reasons, lose their vitality. Sometimes it can happen right when you're trying to propagate it. Temperature is a big issue, especially for ale yeast starting out. They can just go almost, they can look dead, almost dormant, and yet be almost all viable, but just poor vitality. And with a little time and a little care and nutrient, you can bring that vitality to optimum conditions. But yeah, it's a big difference. Having a few good, healthy ones is better than an army of sleepers. No doubt about that.
So you're talking about fluffing?
I think the main point is that no sleeper cells is really what we're after here.
Yeah, all those healthy, viable cells are the key.
Well, I have a question now that since we're bringing up
fluffing.
Go ahead,
Dave. What's your opinion on lagers pitching warm versus pitching cold?
Oh, see, here comes the big thing. I'm glad we got Jamil on the phone here, too. And I'll let you know, as you're going to answer this, Dave, I've got this in front of me from listeners, too. It has a long history, this debate on our show. So there is no, as of yet, there's no right or wrong answer.
So you say.
Just know that I just want to let you know you're jumping right into the wolf's den here. This question has some history.
We're waiting with bated breath.
Yes, please continue.
Okay, I guess I'll have to say, C, all the above.
Of course.
Good answer.
Okay. Well, that's good, because there's a time and place where we have advocating with lager fermentation is to start warm, and then when the yeast is active, to bring it down to fermentation temperatures.
Okay.
That you want. So a downward progression.
And I'm reading that on your website right now as well, David. It's and I quote, keep at 75 degrees until fermentation is evident, and then adjust to the desired temperature.
Yeah. I think on our packages now, I think we say 65 to 75 for the lagers. But even at 75, now that's a standard propagation temperature for lager yeast. 75 to 77 Fahrenheit. Fermented warm during propagation or growth. They will grow lower at 65. Most of the strains grow pretty well also. Now, for the sake of home brewers, and when we put a lot of thought into making sure that home brewers got fermentation underway successfully. And we went with the warmer temperature, and we did that so that people would realize that you can't just take a lager yeast and stick it in your refrigerator and let it ferment it, and because you're going to cold ferment it.
Okay.
That's going to be a slow, long lag time, and it's going to be problematic in some situations that they can't really control. It's a difficult thing to be able to manipulate on a home brewing level, especially for novice home brewers. We wanted to keep it simple, and even today, when I talk to most professional brewers that produce lagers, typically the propagation starts at 75, but then it's ramped down about to 65, and then to maybe 55, and maybe pitched there, or even pitched at 45, pitched lower.
Okay.
Because when you're harvesting and repitching with lager yeast in particular, or you have a propagation that you made, and you harvested the yeast, and you've got good vitality, and you've got good healthy yeast, and a good cell count for the beer that you're making, starting cold, down around 45 Fahrenheit, if you could run in your wort down at 45, pitch the yeast there, and watch a very long lag time without being too concerned or freaking out about no signs of fermentation in 2 hours. That is a very traditional German method of lager brewing. Start very cold, let the heat of fermentation rise up through about low to mid-50s, and let it finish out in the mid-50s, for example. So starting cold, finishing warm. And finishing warm is good for most fermentations, ales as well. And even with an ale fermentation, you might find that brewers out there looking at starting your fermentation in the low 60s, 62 to 65, maybe even 65 to 68, starting on the cool side of normal, and then allowing the heat of fermentation rise up into the low to mid-70s to finish it on a warmer note as well.
Mm-hmm.
The beers that are produced, whether it's a Pilsner starting cold and letting it rise, or an ale that's done the same ways, the ester profiles change on those, and the cell growth is suppressed early on, and it leaves some of the fatty acids available for ester formation later. And another thing that occurs in this type of fermentation is that the end point of fermentation is reached easier as it warms, rather than being on the cool side throughout or cooler at the end. Helps clean up diacetyl, helps finish with a good terminal gravity and a final end point in a consistent time. And the ester profile, I think, is enhanced by this fermentation. And even with Pilsners or lager beers that you're fermenting cold, there's still esters there. Now, we talked about that earlier and said, well, you want to suppress them somewhat.
Yeah.
But there's still esters that come out in a Pilsner beer, a light Pilsner, or even if you crack a Budweiser, there's a lot of esters in that because there's not much else going on. And so those little key elements are important, and you can enhance them by cold start, warm finish.
Dave, have you ever run for public office?
I didn't hear a definitive answer there at all.
So
all I know is
the difference is, and I would agree with Dave 100%. Everything he said, I think, is absolutely perfectly correct and true. And Dave is so knowledgeable. The the difference I think you're going to end up with is, you're saying, for homebrew purposes, you're probably better off, unless you're able to get that larger, healthy pitch, better off going warm. Now you're going to end up with a different ester profile. There's different esters that are produced warmer versus colder, and you're going to end up with a different flavor profile, different type of esters, and you're going to end up with more diacetyl in the warm fermented start.
Okay.
And those are things that, for the average homebrewer, it's perfectly acceptable, because a lot of people, they just want a beer that they're excited about, and if you're trying to make the most flawlessly perfect beer, you might try something different, but there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, Dave. Let me ask you. Let me get it to you this way. Here, what I heard from you was the sort of this is the way we did it. It's the keep it simple method. It's definitely the best way to do it. And just like Jamil's saying, is on average. So, very specifically, a nice Helles or a Pilsner, clean, low ester profile. Should somebody pitch cold or warm? And I'm talking ideally here now. So don't take into account a more simple home brewer like myself or a newcomer. The ideal situation would be to pitch at what temperature for a nice Helles or a Pilsner?
Good question.
That is a good question, and if you've got the equipment to control your temperatures and know what your temperatures are, and like I say, having the yeast, healthy yeast there, I would tell people if you started it at pitched at 45 Fahrenheit, that's what I would do myself.
Okay,
nice. I've got a question. You've just propagated your starter up, and as you were saying, 70s. It's a nice propagation temperature. Do you get your starter down to that temperature, or just throw it in and shock the hell out of it?
That is a good question.
Or do you bring it down slowly over a few days before you pitch it?
Now, if you have your propagation in the 70s and it's end fermented in the propagator,
right?
Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, we're gonna do a starter. We're gonna step it up. Doing a 20-gallon batch, and we're gonna pitch it into the conical. I like to propagate warm like that one, but I always wonder, do I pull it down fast and let it flocculate and then pitch it in, or do I pull it down slowly to not shock it, and then I like to pitch cold. And it's always that question: where's the starter and where's the wort?
Yeah. What about the shock value? What should we do there?
Is this something that you would decant the supernatant off the?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Which means, Doc, to pour off
the beer on the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pouring the beer off the top.
Okay.
You got just the yeast slurry left.
Right.
As a rule, they say drop it slowly, a couple of degrees an hour. Is about the most that you'd want to. And if you think about it, that's not too much more than putting it in a refrigerator and letting it come down over several hours. It's going to be a little quicker, perhaps. A little bit harder to control, but some people can certainly do that.
Well, wouldn't the supernate on top of the slurry kind of help contour that a little bit?
It would contour. It would help it come down on a more gradual basis.
Right.
I know there's some cold shock seems to affect yeast more during fermentation than between fermentation. Usually, as a rule, brewers say, let's get this cooled down as quickly as possible, down close to 32 Fahrenheit as quick as possible. But I think when you say quick, I think if you're cooling a vessel in a large brewery, you'd be cooling at a couple degrees an hour. And even if you took a quart or a half-gallon starter and stuck it in your refrigerator, you probably wouldn't be cooling down much faster than a couple of degrees an hour either, even at that. And so I think with that, I think it's very practical, and I don't think your yeast are going to suffer adversely from that cool down. You're going to help concentrate the cells by helping them settle as that wort clears. You've got a better concentration of cells that you can pour that wort off, and then you don't have the esters in that wort going into the beer, and that's one of the big things about being able to do that, to keep that ester development at those warmer temperatures out of the beer, and so you're going to make make a better product more than likely.
What I've always done is I've kept the Supernate on it as I've added to it, and then put that in the refrigerator, and it works as a buffer for the whole system, so it doesn't cool it down too fast. By the time I'm ready to pitch, it's down, I decant, and then pitch the slurry, and it seems to work. And I pitch cold, so it works for me.
So like letting it set overnight, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. You've got it dialed in, and that works well. The other way that propagations are oftentimes done, and I would imagine a lot of brewers at home would probably recognize that stepping it up or making one propagation, getting it very actively fermenting, and pitching the entire volume.
Right.
And with an ale fermentation or something that's warmer fermented and a warm propagation, probably not an issue at all. And actually, when they say pitch on high Kreuzen, when the yeast are very active, and stepping it up or pitching it into your beer at that time is actually more optimum for yeast and healthy yeast is pitching on that when it's actively fermenting at a very high rate.
Now, Dave, when we're talking about shocking the yeast, what exactly happens when the yeast are shocked? Do they produce off esters? Do they mutate? What happened? Let's say if I had my beer at 50 degrees and I had my starter at 70 or 75, what would go on in a molecular level, I guess?
Well, that's a good question. The yeast, especially ale yeast, when you get them down on the cool side, sometimes they'll settle out and not to slow their metabolic rate down. The lipids that are in the cells, if it's cooler than where they're fluid, it's just like oils or any other fats. The colder they get, the thicker they are, and that can affect the uptake of nutrients across the cell wall. That's my experience. Is probably one of the biggest effects of that cold environment that the yeast go into quickly.
The cell wall. I'm sorry.
Slow down their metabolism.
So the whole metabolism slows down.
The cell wall thickens to protect the inside of the yeast, right?
I'll tell you, I wish my cell wall thickened when it got cold.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
You just get shrinkage.
That would help out a lot of things, you know what I mean?
No, I don't. What are you talking about?
One thing I wanted to say, I need to drop off here, but one thing I want to make sure everybody understands out there is that Dave is very generous with his time and very helpful for homebrewers out there, and I think everyone needs to give him a lot of kudos for all the effort he puts out in trying to share his knowledge and provide great products for the homebrewer out there. I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
Absolutely.
That's true. I see them everywhere.
Hey, thanks, Jamil. Coming from you, that's quite a compliment. Here's a guy that's is probably an avid and a class home brewer that I've ever met, and he brings home the medal of making great beers. And it's always a treat to share a beer and a little time with him.
Dave, if you're still using class and Jamil in the same sentence, you haven't spent enough time with him.
I was going to say...
there's your whole credibility in the toilet right
there. Shake his hand, tell him he's a nice guy, but don't give him a picture of you, whatever you do.
It's true. As I said, Dave, Monday morning your phone lines are just going to be lit up.
It's true.
Another good story ruined by an eyewitness, huh?
Jamil, thanks for the call, brother.
All right, thank you.
Take care. The great Jamil Zainashev there. All right, Dave, you got a little time?
Yeah, sure do.
Okay, let me try to just fire some of these at you so we can get through them. And we'll just try. We can go. I'll do quick questions if you do quick answers. Or at least as quick as we can keep them, so I can try to get everybody's questions answered, rather. This one is about Hefeweizen yeast, and the question is, do Hefeweizen yeast really store poorly, and if so, why? Any?
I haven't found where they store too poorly.
Okay.
They can start produce a little sulfur if they have some vitality problems. And that could be through storage, possibly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Oh, see, you're good at this. Most people, when I do the quick answer thing, I don't get that. You're good at this game, Dave.
Is that the yeast store poorly, or the Hefeweizen's themselves store poorly? Because any wheat beer's going to store poorly.
They change daily. You're right,
Yeah.
and I don't think Germans will drink them after they're 4 or 5 weeks old.
No, you want to pretty much drink. If you want a quick beer, you got a party coming up. You got to brew for something.
Woo!
Yeah, brew a Hefeweizen.
That's it. Right, there you go.
Okay.
Right on.
The Germans are still into that purity thing. They won't touch it after too long. Let's see.
Then they ship it over here.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
The perfect beer.
Question about somebody having picked up a smack pack. This says, I received a smack pack that had already begun to expand, but I found that the pack inside was still intact. Would you be able to tell maybe why the package was expanding?
Yes, when the yeast were packaged, they still had a little bit of residual CO2 at cold temperatures. The package warmed someplace along the way between our place and theirs. CO2 volatilized and package swelled a little bit.
Okay. All right. Easy enough.
He is good at this game.
He is really good at the quick answer. Okay.
No harm to the yeast. They're good.
It was fine. Okay. That's good to know. In fact, the Y-Yeast pack, I did use one that I wouldn't say it was inflated, but it wasn't flat, and I bet you that it was the same thing, just a temperature change. Tends to be 138 degrees here.
We're not talking about egos here. Come on.
Okay, here's a two-part question for you. I think that there was a rumor that I also think is rumor no more, that you guys are about to put out Rogue's Pac-Man yeast as a purchasable product. You are going to do that.
We are.
Okay.
Yes. If it's not available today, it probably will be next week.
Oh, all right.
And look for more great brewery strains coming available besides Rogue. But Rogue's a fantastic one.
Yeah.
We've had so much interest in that over the years. It's been great. So
can you let us know a little bit of the characteristics of the Pac-Man yeast from your point of view?
It's a workhorse for one. And it's a very flocculent ale strain that leaves a nice flavor and ester profile without being too rich and big, and cleans up and has a nice malty finish. It's a wonderful strain.
So it'll mow through a lot of things and then flocculate out pretty well.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I said it'll mow through most high gravity things that like Rogue likes to put out. And then it'll flocculate out well too, so you get a fairly clear beer out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially for home brewers, it makes it really easy to get it racked quick and keep it fresh.
And by the way, Dave, usually by this point in the show, nobody can understand Doc. So,
but hey, I'm doing pretty good. I got 5 empty beers in front of me.
And doing well.
I'm doing good.
He is. I think Doc practiced his linguistics while he was on vacation. He sat in the mirror saying, oranges.
the teeth is
plastic.
Sibilance.
Yeah. All right, Dave.
The sheet I slit.
Now, is the Pac-Man going to be regular, or that's one of your seasonal selections?
You know, it's so new, I'm not even sure. I got a feeling it's probably going to be a seasonal one, and we've got a number of seasonal ones that we're coming out with, and I would think that you'll probably see it for a while, and then we'll probably bring some other ones out that come about, and then we'll have it back again later on. I'm hoping to see something like that where we can drum up a little bit of interest in it by some publicity and get people aware that it's out there, so that we can make some production runs and keep things fresh for them and keep it interesting with other new strains coming.
So what other brewery yeast can we look forward to? I mean, we got the Pac-Man coming out that everybody's heard about for years that we couldn't get.
Yeah, what's the scoop, Dave?
Yeah, what do we got coming around the bend?
The Crotch Rot Brewing Company?
That's the $1 million question right there. I'll tell you. Because if I told you now, then it wouldn't be a surprise.
They haven't signed on the line yet.
Nobody's listening. People don't listen to this show.
What are your hopes and fears? How's that?
Well, I tell you, we've got some interesting ones coming up. I can tell you that much. No, we've got some commitment on a couple of them. We're prying these things out of these brewers' hands and getting them to share it with home brewers. So it's not an easy task. If I have my work cut out, now's the time.
You're sending Guido over there to persuade them.
Yeah.
Give me your yeast.
We wouldn't want your slant to get destroyed.
All right. The second part of the Pac-Man question was, how do you decide what yeast will be your seasonal selections?
Well, that evolved over a little bit of time. We've come across so many interesting yeast strains, and people always want to know what's new. What do you got now? That I haven't seen before. That's kind of the nature of home brewers oftentimes. And so we expanded our line, and then at a certain point in time, we realized that, well, some of these strains, even though they're pretty nice and they're interesting, there's just not that much interest in them from brewers. And so we took some of them off the market here recently. We added the seasonal special ones that we're coming up with now, and we want to do more of that. Bring strains out and promote them, and bring some recipes out for people to be able to use them, and make sure they're out there so that people can get them, and then bring other new ones and interesting ones out. So we're going to try to rotate new things in on a regular basis, and when it's something that goes out there and really sticks and people really like, maybe we'll keep it around all the time. So that's going to see. It depends on what brewers are after and what they're interested in, and what we can provide them.
And here I thought it just had to do with how many smack packs you had left.
Yeah. Okay, another listener question from one of our longtime listeners, Wayne, from Bug Eater Brewing Company. He says he recently stopped into his local homebrew shop to see about ordering a couple of yeasts from you. Specifically, I was looking for Y Yeast 3725, which is the Bière de Garde, and Y Yeast 3726, which is the farmhouse ale. The shop owner pulled out his sheet and saw that both were on the discontinued list. He says, I then pointed out that both these yeasts were featured on an insert in the Northern Brewer catalog that he had just received that morning, and then also pulled out a flyer he had just received from his distributor featuring the same two yeasts. So they were wondering, is somebody marketing the wrong thing? Are they actually discontinued, or are those yeasts still available?
The yeast are available. Good question. This really is right in the transition of some of the changes where we pulled some of many of the older strains that we had on a regular basis off. This one was with that group, those two strains, and even though we've only had them out on the market a short period of time, they'll be part of the seasonal mix at this time. And so they, I'm sure they were available through Northern Brewer at this time, and when and how long they're available, I guess you and I are both going to find that out.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now I've got a few questions here that are going to be more difficult than short answer, but let's try to do it anyway. Maybe we can.
Are we playing Stump the Brewer?
Still do them quick. I do have one Stump the Yeasty Boy question. We'll get to that later. But before that, one of our Australian listeners, good old Oz.
Yes.
He wants to know, he says, can you talk about storing yeast cultures in a 10% sugar solution? How long can it be stored, and are there problems that you know of to look out for?
Well, that's I think it's sucrose is what they're using. 10% is a common method. A good pure culture inoculated into the sucrose and then kept at or near 32 Fahrenheit, or for the Australian that would be right at 0, right? Yep. And just above freezing, but as cold as possible. I think you look for a storage time maybe up to 3 months doing that.
Okay.
It's not a very common method, but it's been around for a long time. Now, we store yeast at minus 80 C. That wasn't very long ago. That type of equipment wasn't even available to most people, and then so things have changed a lot recently on storage. But that was a common use method, and it works.
Okay. So most of the Australians are always worried about they can't get good yeast, they can't get viable yeast, and so they're all doing yeast washing and trying to make it work as best they can.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. One of our biggest export distributors is right down in Melbourne, Australia. So we ship yeast down there fresh every month. I know.
Okay.
So
I think Oz is
they're
cheap.
kind of maybe frugal. Yeah.
Or maybe they're not just letting it out.
Yeah.
No, but it is a big country, and not everybody lives in within Kangaroo's hop to the homebrew shop. So.
That's true.
Right.
Okay, he also wants to know then, when storing yeast under sterile water conditions, how long would it be expected to last? He says that I have some that I've had for 4 years, but I'm not sure if it's still any good.
Brew with it.
Make a starter.
That's gone pretty long, 4 years. I will follow this with a short story though, but again, probably that 3 month range is much more practical to expect some reculturing, so you don't end up with mutation or just a dead mass.
Yeah.
We have brewers down in South Africa we've shipped to for years and years, and a brewer down there had a package of our yeast that was 9 years old in his refrigerator. And this was a liter of yeast for a brewery. He opened it, used it, and said he made some of the best beer he ever had.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened. That's not the rule. That's not the norm.
Yeah.
But God, I guess when you're in South Africa, sometimes you got to rub sticks together to just get the fire going. So.
See, I'm thinking, from what I know, if I can chime in here, I've got some boxer shorts that I've had for 4 years, and you can be sure there's plenty of their own kind of yeast in there, and there is nothing healthy or ready to use about those things. They're the ones that I wear when all the other laundry's dirty. So I'm thinking 4 years, Oz, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
There you go.
You get 4 uses out of those.
Yeah.
Inside, outside, front, and back.
I think you have to explain to Oz what underwear is, actually. It's not a kangaroo pouch.
Because he's storing it in the kangaroo pouch.
I miss you, my friend. I miss you.
Dave, is there a way to count cells without lab equipment? Now, even I could probably answer this, right?
Ooh. Yeah, we've got a
guess.
Go ahead.
We've got a cool little PowerPoint presentation that Greg Doss, one of our microbiologists, did, and he took yeast and put it in a 50 ml tube, and he let it settle out and let the supernatant settle to the top and the yeast settle down.
Yeah.
And he gave some rough calculations on cell density based on. And we can get that from Greg. It's the lab services at yeastlab.com.
What was the calculation based on? Sorry, what was the calculation based on?
Based on the amount of cells packed out in a 50 ml tube.
Okay.
So he didn't centrifuge or anything? He just didn't let it settle?
No, it settled in the refrigerator 24 hours. We just did a very simple settling.
That's like count the beans in the jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, I mean, if
the percentage of solids give you, we did a cell count and said, okay, 15% solids is about this much, and 25% solids is about this much, and so yeah, we've got that, and that's about the best way that I know of a home brewer could get an estimation on cell density is following that little guide that Greg put together.
So where can we get that guide?
Actually, just email me, Dave at yeastlab.com.
Okay, yeastlab.
I'll get it out to you.
You can get a lot of emails tomorrow, too.
I ain't coming in tomorrow.
Actually, okay. Actually, the podcast people are going to get you about Thursday.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's the archive listeners chime in.
Right.
How about this? Last question from Oz, and then I'm getting rid of this guy. He says, I have some yeast in a test tube that has some black staining on the top. He says it looks like autolysis, but he's not sure. Will the yeast under the stained top layer be okay, or, and I quote, is it all fucked? That's what he wants to know.
Just say it with an Australian accent, though. Is it all fucked?
I'd keep that the same place you keep that underwear you got. Probably those are probably good containers. If it's black, it's probably some sort of slime mold or something like that got in there.
I agree. I've got the same thing.
I wouldn't trust it. If it's on the bottom, if it's on the top, it's everywhere. So
how about he streaks it out on a plate and see what he gets, and pull a couple.
There you go.
Streak it on a plate and see what you get, and pull the nice white ones and leave the black, nasty green ones.
You could do that. Yep, that would probably clean it up. Depending on what was left and what you had in that test tube along with the black stuff, hopefully that's something that's we'll make some beer too. So.
Okay. Another question, a little more difficult side. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the questions. It maybe get just a general answer out of you. I might have this person email you directly. His questions pertain to a method of aerobic yeast propagation in which the medium is continuously infused into the propagation vessel in such a way that a very low concentration of glucose is maintained in the propagation vessel. He gives a description of it, but I won't read it if you know what I'm talking about already, Dave.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the question is...
His questions are, he says, is this method used commercially? He's got a couple of them, so I'll just go one at a time. Is it used commercially for producing brewer's yeast?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
It is.
Does it have any effects on the yeast that make them less suitable for brewing?
None I'm aware of.
Okay. And finally, he says, how should the wort using this method be supplemented so that glucose becomes the only limiting growth factor and undesirable effects on the yeast are minimized?
Well, okay, that's a pretty good question too. If you maintain the glucose feed and zinc, other trace nutrients that are with a free amino nitrogen of about, I think, 140 parts per million. If we're going to get technical about it,
Okay.
you want that in there as well. Basically, if you're using barley malt as a base, you have pretty much everything there that you need, with maybe the exception of zinc. With the additional zinc supplement to that medium, should be good to go.
Okay. All right. I do have a bunch of other questions, Dave. I may let you off the hook here and just ask people to email them to you. Would that be all right? And plus, I kind of like to keep them...
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever works for you.
Okay.
I'm free.
Well, part of me likes to keep people hanging so we can have you back again. You know what I mean? Like, if we answer every question on the planet...
What are you going to talk about next time?
Yeah. And I've only got a few.
We haven't talked about a few things. We got new products coming and stuff like that, and I won't even get into that now. You already baited me a little bit on what strains we got coming.
Yeah.
And you get me back sometime, we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk about some fun stuff we did with experiments with blending yeast, different yeast strains, new beer styles, some different things that really haven't been done out there before with different strain mixes.
I wouldn't mind spending a little time on that now if you want to spend a few minutes talking about your new products like that.
See, Justin, he's a master baiter. You know what I mean? He'll bait you.
That's right.
Well, that's some other products that we've worked with commercial brewers for a number of years that work very well for in a couple areas to help home brewers make better beer. So I'll leave you with that.
Okay.
There's some things that we've got coming. We don't have them on the shelf yet, so I can't spill the beans too far. But getting into strain mixes, we just did a presentation down in Orlando at the National Homebrew Conference where we did some different beer styles, adding some other yeast to them to create some new flavors and different beer profiles that I don't think have ever been done before. And that was a lot of fun. And we can talk more about that and some of the other experiments we've done with some different strains. And in addition to that, there's a number of questions I'm sure that you have that we haven't gotten into with fermentation characteristics, strain selection for different beer styles, for brewing beers that you want to hit a style with, and what to look for in those strains, or what's out there to choose from. And there's a number of things that we can spend a lot of time on, I'm sure.
All right, we got another hour coming with Dave for our next show.
Oh, for sure.
That's what we'll do. You ever?
Can we get him into the studio?
Can I ask you ever in our area, Dave? We're in Africa.
Let's talk about that. I'd love to come down.
The greater San Francisco area, yeah.
All right, we'll keep nagging you then. If you're going to be down our way, we'll do it then.
We'll get the stars to align, huh?
Okay.
There we go.
Last thing before I let you go, we like to play a game here usually with our guests. A lot of time our guests are brewers, so the game's called Stump the Brewer. We occasionally change it, so today it's Stump the Yeasty Boy. And It's just a random questions from people, from our listeners. I had one sent in. I'll throw this one at you. If our chat room wants to give one or two more while we're doing it, then we'll take another couple. I don't know if we have anything to give away. We'll just do it for fun. All right, are you ready for this?
JP's card.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Sorry.
The question is, who was the first person to use solid media to culture yeast? And what was the solid media?
I think I'm stumped.
They do this.
There's no penalty for guessing.
No. David, they do this every time. They just dig deep, you know.
Pasteur or Leeuwenhoek may have been one of the two. I'm not sure, but those two come to mind.
It looks like Pasteur was the second, I think. The answer, according to this listener, it was Dr. Robert Koch or Cook.
Okay, there you go. I believe he's right.
Okay.
On solid medium.
And it was in
Good
1881, and the solid medium was the cut surface of a boiled potato.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and he says that agar was later discovered to be a better medium after he discovered Frau Hess, the wife of one of his assistants, using agar to set her jams.
Agar.
Agar.
So, okay. Did you get any from the chat room, Daniela?
No, he's stumped already.
Okay.
So, Dave, we can look forward to slices of potato coming out soon, I guess, right?
Yeah. Potato starch agar.
All right.
You're making me hungry.
Exactly.
Yeast on potatoes. I love it.
David Logsdon of Y Yeast Yeast Company, and you can go to yeastlab.com, or you can click the big giant featured link right on our homepage. It's blue and it says Y Yeast, and you click it and it takes you right to their homepage.
Bada
and
bing.
you can read all about the good stuff over at Y Yeast. And then as Dave said earlier, it's Dave at yeastlab.com, right?
Yeah, there I am.
If you want to ask any questions personally.
Labs.
No, I don't think there's an S at the end, is there?
I think there is.
No S.
No, there is no S. I apologize.
JP, don't mess with me.
I was trying to be smart.
I know what's happening here.
I thought he was just slurring his words.
Yeah, why are you slurring?
Listen. Okay. Well, we do appreciate your time. Please give our congratulations to your daughter for winning second place in the softball tournament.
Excellent.
But how did she do?
Two
Did she
daughters,
play well?
Thank you. I had a pitcher and a catcher.
Really? We got
one drove in the tying one, and then the other one got up and drove in the winning round. So
it's just like
was
lunch
a lot
meat.
of fun. Thanks.
Beautiful.
There you go.
What do you got? Twins?
I got triplets.
Wow. No, really? Wow.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Yeah.
And they're not teenagers yet? Oh boy. Teenage girls. I've got boys, and I thank myself every day.
that they're not triplets?
No, that I have bail money and college fund.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's great fun, guys. Sure enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
We really do appreciate you spending all this time with us, and I would love to get you in the studio, so we'll be in contact and try to work that out.
Let's talk about some dates in the future here and see what we can put together.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Great.
Seriously.
The great David Logsdon of Y Yeast. Thanks very much, David.
Justin, JP, Daniela, Dr. Scott, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Great fun. And we'll catch up with you soon, and we'll tip a few, huh?
All right, brother.
Cool. All right,
that's what we're really talking about, isn't it?
That's right. Portland.
Take care, David.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
There you go. David Logsdon of Y Yeast
good.
Company. First appearance on our show.
A lot of good information.
That was really good.
What a nice
That went
guy.
by really fast, too.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I've heard nothing but really good things about Dave before. I'd never met him, but really people had told me that he's really into home brewers and really into home brewing, and that's a really cool thing because to be quite honest, there's a lot of companies that are in the homebrew industry, and they're also in the professional brew industry.
Right.
They're not as big on homebrewers as homebrew shops are, and some are, some aren't. And Dave seems to be one of these guys who's real stoked about homebrewers, and I like that.
Well, I think it takes a special person to be able to, answer the question, the questions that homebrewers have over and over and over again, especially for 20 years. It's like it's been well, can I just leave it on top of my fridge for 2 months and then use it?
Yeah.
Or I got it and it's dead. It definitely takes a passion for the for knowledge, and that's really great. That's good to have them on.
You're right. It's answering the same questions over and over and
so
over.
Old, but you do it because you want
to them it's new. Every time that
and
question is asked.
you want to improve the market in general. You want to improve not the market but the hobby. You want to improve everyone, and you realize that as people exit, people enter as well. And
you can't say you dumbass. We answered that question last week
exactly
because they just got into this. They don't know that.
Yeah.
See, I don't really.
They wouldn't be around for 20 years if they did that. That's for sure.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
I actually don't know what you guys are talking about because I never mind it when the question happens over and over again. Is it true what they say about tall guys with big feet?
Mm-hmm.
I can answer that all day long, every day. It never gets old.
Yes, it's a myth.
Well, but no, it's just those same questions keep coming out of your mouth over and over.
I think it's really true. I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'5". I have big feet. Yes, it is hard to find shoes.
All right. We're going to take a real quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to wrap things up. It's been a long show, as usual, but the studio's just starting to cool down.
Yeah.
We do need to do a quick wrap-up of the Summit Beer Festival we went to at Drake's Brewing Company, and then we'll get the heck out of here.
We have to talk about the homebrew competition and speak about Dr. Scott's brother.
You're listening to the Brewcasters on the Brewing Network. You're listening to Three Guys.
Excuse me, what about me?
Sorry. You're listening to Three Guys and One Girl use a radio show as an excuse to drink more beer. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Welcome back to the Dave Logsdon Show. Dave Logsdon has left the building.
That's true.
Y Yeast Yeast Company. Check them out at yeastlab.com or click the big blue link that says Y Yeast right on our homepage and thank him for doing the show with us.
Send him lots of email.
Prove Doc right.
Yeah. It's coming.
It's coming anyway. All right, a couple of things that we do need to make sure we talk about here, and that's why we're back to wrap up. One of them is a reminder about the Southern California homebrew competition that's going on, and you can go to www.hopheads.com for all the details. But please remember, it's not only a BJCP certified event. JP is sitting there like he thinks no one's looking at him and just jiggling his belly.
It's
and
so distracting.
He's so amused. He's laying back in his chair just watching his belly jiggle. What is wrong with you?
Thanks for calling me out on that. I appreciate that.
I'm looking at the look on your face, and you're so satisfied with just sitting there jiggling your belly. It's disgusting.
I am. Well, hey.
I wish I could describe it enough. He's leaning back in the chair like it's a recliner.
Don't describe it.
I described it to the chat room already.
And like bouncing up and down to watch his belly jiggle.
Daniela, there's got to be a German word for that. Sort of like
Disgustinweisen.
Exactly.
Scheißekopfe?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Scheißeman?
Schwuchtelsau.
Oh, Schwuchtel. Oh, no.
I don't know what that means.
JP is a Schwuchtel, it's true. All right, so the Southern California Homebrew Competition, hopheads.com, BJCP certified competition, as well as a Brewing Network sanctioned competition. We are sponsoring the event, and they're sponsoring us, and it's a whole lot of sponsoring going on. And we really want everybody to join it. If you've listened for the past few weeks, we've been talking about it. I've never entered a competition before, and neither has Daniela. We're both going to enter this competition. Not only do I want to help support the competition, I really want to help support the BN and get a lot of BN names up in that award ceremony.
That would be beautiful.
It doesn't mean, if you don't have any award-winning beers right now, take this opportunity to send it anyway and get some feedback about why it's not an award-winning beer.
Right.
Because as I say, I want to hear all these Brewing Network names in the winner's circle. You can be sure mine's not going to be one of them. But I am really going to enjoy the feedback about the beer that I did, and it was my first all-grain attempt, and I'm pretty happy about it, so we'll see what happens. Daniela's beer is fermenting right now. How's that going for you?
It's going all right. I'm having a hard time trying to keep it at a proper fermentation temperature, but I'm doing my best.
It's 100 degrees outside, and this actually isn't a joke. It really is 100 degrees in Concord.
100 degrees in Pacheco.
So we are doing the old bucket of water technique and trying to keep that firm temp down for you. But that's the beer you're going to enter in this competition also.
That's the one, yes. So I hope it's going to turn out fine. It turned out to be a little stronger than I expected it to be. We had a very high OG. Mm-hmm. So I hope it's gonna. I don't know what style I'm gonna enter it in.
What did you brew?
We'll figure it out.
Well, I brewed my traditional blonde recipe. I alternated it a little bit because it was an AG, all grain. So I put some more grain in there.
I felt like it.
Just because I felt like it. I was at the More Beer store, and I just was browsing around their grains, and I saw a nice other grain. I said, I'm gonna throw it in there
I
too.
did that too.
All those, let's put some in.
You know what was
tasted
impressive
really
though?
good though.
That's what was impressive is that she did the Brian Hunt method, and not as if he's the only one who's ever said it, but he was the first one to say it on the show. She already had her grain bill, and she's going through it, and then she sees in B3, if you go back and you pull your own grains, there's just all these boxes of grains, and they all say the names on there. So what does she see on there? Munich.
Oh.
But she didn't just willy-nilly go, oh, it's Munich. She obviously that's what attracted her. But I walked back there and she's chewing on grains.
Nice
she's throwing it in there, and the flavor was awesome. I ended up chewing on some of them too.
Yeah.
And you decided based on that chewing.
Right.
Like a goat.
I just threw in another 2 pounds of it, so not too much. So that's a little different. And
so what's your OG?
My OG after boil is 1063.
Wow.
And this is that Hellas Ale that she did the first time, but we did it mini
made a
mash.
Bach.
Yeah, it's a Bach, right?
It's a Bach.
It's probably a bog, right? Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. It's been in the fermentation for 8 days now. So I'm probably gonna keg it next Saturday. And we'll see.
So
I'm going to enter it no matter what.
Of course. We just got to figure out what to enter it as. So.
I also warm pitched, and I also did not do a starter this time because I've talked a lot to people about yeast starters in Orlando, Florida. I actually was doing beer talk all day long.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some people who really know about the yeast business too, and they've influenced me quite a bit in their opinion that yeast starters are a great thing if you like to experiment with yeast and if you want to try different things and if you like the whole deal of it. But for me, I'm looking for convenience, and I don't know a whole lot about yeast yet, so I just pitched.
Right. Well, I mean, anything over 1060, you should definitely do something.
Starter.
Yeah.
Well, we pitched 2 vials.
Yes, I pitched 2 vials.
Then you're good.
And
you have nutrients.
That's the other way. That's convenience.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't just the convenience. Like Daniela said, we had the opportunity to do a starter.
I did have it.
Her conversations with some yeast people, she decided that a starter wasn't necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
2 vials should be fine. Yeah, you should be good.
No, I mean, we just had a lot of yeast discussion, and I asked him for the advantages and I asked him for the disadvantage. I don't understand everything yet. I'm honest. I ask a lot of dumb questions because I don't know anything about yeast, but they broke it down for me so that a dumb person could understand too, and it sounded reasonable to me. So I am actually going to try for a few batches now not to do a starter, and then I'm going to do a comparison batch, and I'm going to do the same recipe with a starter and see if there is any way that you could taste the difference even.
I mean, it's hard to know everything about,
everything.
about everything. I mean, it would take not like a scientist or someone like that to really tell you about yeast.
It would take someone who went to school for a period of time. Somebody who spent some time in front of, say, a professor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying I want to go with the best way for me now because I think the yeast is so critical in the whole brew process.
Sure.
It's so sensitive. So I want to go for a convenient solution right now that I don't mess up too much. So that's what I'm looking for right now, and this is why I decided against starter. And I warm pitched too because that was a very convincing argument too. I warm pitched at a temperature of 74, 76 maybe. And then I tried to decrease the temperature like 1 degree every 2 hours.
How are you temperature controlling?
Well, in a bucket with ice.
But
So
it
it's
did
really
actually,
hard
it is
Very
hard to
hard
do it
to-
exactly right. But if you average out the time from the time that she pitched until until it was down
It
to
makes
firm
sense.
temp, it about worked out.
What temperature are you guys fermenting at? Or with Daniela, what temperature are you fermenting?
I'm fermenting right now. Well, I'm trying to keep it at 68. Sometimes it goes up to 70 though if I'm not fast enough.
But it stayed between 68 and 70 the
It
whole
always
time.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't cold pitch at an ale like that. That's good, though.
No.
You did good. Sounds good. I can't wait to try it.
Let's see. And I used Holotar for my first recipe. Now I alternated with some Czech sauce because it just wasn't enough hops for the whole all grain dealie.
Yeah,
So-
basically we did this thing where Daniela goes in and says, so this is the batch I did before. I did it with mini mash.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to do the grains now all grain? And the answer was basically to double the grain bill. So she doubled the grain bill because we basically got half of our malt from grain the last time and half from extract.
Yeah, okay.
So this time we doubled the grain bill, but then she added the 2 pounds or something of the Munich also. And we're still learning our new all grain system.
Sure.
So she got this just huge efficiency out of the thing because man was this stuff coming out sticky, just huge efficiency.
That's great.
And ended up with a 1062 beer, which she had picked up the hops. And the hop bill was too low.
Right.
So we call up the good doctor and we're like, Doc, we're on Pro Mash. How the hell are we going to do this?
Help.
No, you said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm on the computer now. Oh, good, I caught you there. So, so I fire up Pro Mash and we start crunching some numbers.
And it turned out that you had to add 3 ounces of Czech sauce to your already
Right.
but originally you were just going to go 3 ounces of Hallertau.
Right, and that's what I wanted to do. So we went on Pro Mash. Dr. Scott advised us to do something, and then we played around with it a little bit. Pro Mash is cool like that because you can alternate 90 minutes, maybe 60 minutes, maybe 1 ounce, maybe 2 ounces, and in the end we came out with something that I really liked because I didn't want too much of the Czech sauce in there because I've never worked with it, and it kicks your IBUs up so much, and I don't like too hoppy beers. So we played around until I was satisfied with the result on the computer. At least we'll see what the beer is like.
Well, it's almost a thank goodness that the gravity ended up so high because the last thing you wanted was an overly hoppy beer.
Yeah.
Well, had we underhopped, this beer would just be a malt bomb.
Malt bomb,
it
right.
really just would have been all malt. So now I think you might actually end up with exactly what you're looking for.
We'll see.
You know,
I hope so. But everything went fine in the brewing process. I love the all-grain system. It's so much more fun. I love to do everything myself. I mashed at 151. I sparged. My sparge temp was 170. The OG pre-boil was 1050. So everything was kind of okay in that brew process.
How'd you boil it?
How did I boil it?
Vigorously.
I do everything vigorously.
Well, from a 1050 to a 1063, that has to be a pretty screaming boil.
Yeah. Well, and it was a 90-minute boil too, so it really went down. But the cool thing was that everything really went well up to that point. Like she said, the mash temp was I think awesome. We can't control it once it goes into the cooler. So 151.
Yeah.
And about an hour later,
there. It's so great, this all-grain system that that Oz bought for us from More Beer. It's just fantastic because those mash tons, they are just great. They really keep the temperature where they're supposed to have the temperature.
It's the igloo.
It's the igloo, yeah. It's great.
Oz, you made them all excited.
He really did.
Yeah. So that was cool. That went really well. And then the sparge went really well. That temperature was just right. We did she did like a real nice slow sparge. Took I don't even know how long. Did you write down how long it took us to get out of there?
No, I didn't write that down.
I think it was almost an hour and a half.
No, I didn't write that down, but it was a long time.
And then she took the pre-boil gravity, Doc, to make sure we didn't screw up the mash. That's pretty cool, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we figured from there, 1050, let's go for it.
Right, and I pitched at 74. I pitched 2 vials of yeast on 5 gallons and 1 vial for 3 gallons because I have 2 carboys.
Then I think you added
Then I added another vial of yeast.
the next day.
Yeah.
So so the long story about her beer, which is an interesting one, is that it's going into this competition that we'd like you all to join. Hopheads.com is all that it entails. Right on our main page, you can click a button for a $1 off coupon. So we're even trying to help you out in encouraging you to join these competitions, and we're doing it for our first time. JP's going to enter the competition, and JP doesn't compete anymore, but he's going to do this one anyway.
No, I don't. I got I've entered 3 times, and I got a second place, and I figured I'm just going to retire on the D average. And go for it.
I'm going to retire almost on top.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I have some of the stout that I made a couple months ago, and I just tried it, and it's really good. And so I'm actually thinking about kind of get back in the game.
All right. So there you go.
Probably not though.
But he's going to do this.
I will do this one, and I might do one other one this year, and that's probably it.
It takes postage, man.
Yeah.
Doc, you're doing this one.
Am I?
Yep. You're absolutely doing this one. The deadline for entries is the 21st of this month, so you got to get your entries in there by the 21st. So get it ready. We did give you a heads up a long time ago, so I hope you got a batch going.
That means I have to make a mailing to this and a bug at the same time.
And a bug?
But I'm Christmas.
Oh, the Santa thing, yeah.
But actually, I've already got that ready to go. So
okay, so you're all set, man.
Oh, he's set too. It's all good.
All right, so the deadline for this competition, July 21st. The competition actually takes place on July 30th, and we're still working on doing an on-air thing to get the winners announced.
That'd be great.
While the competition's going on. It depends on what time
Exclusive.
it's taking place. So please help us out. Help yourselves out by getting the feedback. Join. If you get the coupon off our main page, it's right at the top of our homepage. It will tell them that you came from the Brewing Network. You could also put in the Brewing Network as your club, and they'll know that way too. But if you want the $1 off, just go ahead and take the coupon and go for it. All right, so join everybody into it. And I had a question come through earlier in the week where somebody asked if the competition was going to be a fairly competitive one because he wanted a competitive one. His local competition only had like 3 beers per category.
Oh wow!
From what I understand of this competition, it's a pretty big one.
This will be bigger.
It's the Inland Empire sort of,
and it's going to be tough competition. It's California. You're going to get a lot of competition, especially in the hoppy stuff. the hoppy ales.
And even your American pale ale is going to be
all that kind of stuff. Anything that's West Coasty, you're going to get a lot of good competition with that one. So if you're fighting for it, that's what you're going to get.
Yes. So do that for us. Okay, real quick, let's summarize. We went to the Summit Hop Festival. It was the Summit Hop and Washoes Festival, the first annual at Drake's Brewing Company, drinkdrakes.com to check them out. And they've been on the show before. You guys know who they are. Roger and Melissa brew over there. And they put on a fundraiser for local schools in their area. All the proceeds went to a local elementary school in San Leandro. And it was a bit pricey. We were glad that it was going to charity. I'll be quite honest. It was 35 bones to get in,
which is a lot for a beer fest. But but you
got all the beer you want. There was no beer tokens or anything else, and we were pretty stoked that it went to charity. Yeah. And then they did this whole Washoes tournament, which is this game that's I don't know, sweeping the nation. I think I'm supposed to say
sweeping the nation.
It's like horseshoes, but no, it's not. But it's a cool game.
Sweeping 12 people across the nation.
I tried it. I suck at it. Really.
There's like a 4-foot box, and that box has 4 holes in it, strategically placed. I think it's 4. It's only 3 holes. Okay,
and the more holes in the box, the better.
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah. 3 holes is about average.
one box, 1 hole.
And you throw big washers into the hole. That's why I say it's like horseshoes closest to the hole. You get points for all.
You notice the ones that that Roger had out all had the Drake's Brewing Company logo stenciled on them. Like someone's going to take his 8-cent washer.
Yeah, that's mine. So there's. Oh, do I still have somebody on the phone waiting for us?
Sorry.
My phone's been waiting for a
He's just saying, good people are trying to get out through the landline.
Hey.
Wichita. Sorry, brother. Wichita phoned in at the break, and I just had him sitting on hold the whole time. I totally forgot.
It's a good thing it's call free.
He's 2 hours ahead. He's probably hammered.
I don't understand.
You know, when you first... am I on the air now?
Yes,
you are. You're on.
All right. When I first went on hold, I was in that happy land between sober and drunk. But since I was left on hold so damn long...
Yeah, you're totally hammered?
I think I've crossed the line.
Well, good. We got you at the right time.
It's been like 30 minutes.
Justin keeps yammering.
Anyway, getting back to that hopheads.com competition.
Yeah.
Everybody enter your damn beers, even if they're not good. I got a couple beers going in that... probably high 20s, low 30s. Not beers that I'd enter normally, but one of the categories, my wife is actually competing against me.
Beautiful. I like that. What's the category that she's going to be competing against you?
It's the Russian Imperial Stout category.
Nice.
She's got one that's a couple years old.
Ooh.
I've got one about 4.5 years old.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Both have pluses and minuses, but it's a little internal competition there.
I hope she beats your ass, Wichita.
Part of me thinks...
And then wins the competition.
Part of me is saying that, too, because I want to get her hooked, too.
Yeah.
On brewing, because this is her first beer, and actually this is her only beer so far.
Well, that'll get her hooked, and also you'll get sympathy laid that night.
Hell yeah.
Well, I totally beat him, so come on. Climb it.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Dave was cool.
Yeah.
You guys have had great guests the last couple weeks, or the last couple shows, rather.
Yeah.
And just kudos to that.
Cool, thank you.
Also, I was supposed to be at NHC, but we had some family issues that came up that I had to cancel, but it was cool as hell that you guys were broadcasting live from NHC, so I wanted to thank you on behalf of all the people who couldn't go for broadcasting live from the NHC.
Cheers, I appreciate that.
Awesome.
I'll tell you what, I'll be real honest, I've not gotten a lot of feedback about the NHC shows, and we kind of talk around here at the Brewing Network. the shows that are bad are the shows that nobody says anything about. If there's a lot of fire in the forum about how much people didn't like the show or whatever, it was still a good show because people got passionate about it, or they'll talk about how much they like it. If the show goes on in silence, that's never a good sign for us, and we've not gotten a lot of feedback. So I hope that we did an okay job of bringing the NHC home.
Yeah, I thought it was a good job personally.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell the other guys thought, but I thought
there
it
you
was
go.
great.
Get them.
Well, I'm not asking for feedback either. Yeah. I'm actually saying it's a reflection. But really, our entire goal in going out there was to bring it home in a way that people could value it and use it. So I really just hope that happens.
It was to do just what you said there, Wichita, and that's great. I'm glad that it worked out for you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right, very good. Well, that's good enough for me. I'm happy about
and
that.
Lastly, before I free the line for all the other listeners who want to call in, guys.
They're piling up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they better damn well be. Welcome back, Doc.
Hey, thank you, man.
You.
Yeah.
Thanks.
True that.
You know what? That's what keeps me coming back.
Yeah. That and the free beer. Except he had to bring his own beer today.
I brought all the beer this time.
Yeah. We got to get a brewery in here soon, don't we? So we can replenish. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, keep up the good work. We'll talk to you later.
Wichita, thanks very much for the call. I appreciate that, man. I think you sent us I think you also sent us a really genuinely nice email that I'm going to pass on to Daniela. And there's a lot of emails I get that I don't always read. I don't want people to think that we're tooting our own horns in here. There's occasional emails that we get that actually tear us up around here. And I think Wichita, you just sent us one of those. I'll be giving it to Daniela, and we always appreciate that because it lets us know that it's working, and that's a good thing. So thanks to you, man, and thanks for calling up.
Hey, not a problem, guys. You guys rock. Keep up the good work. I've been there from day one, and somehow, I don't know, maybe it's a neurological problem.
It's got to be a neurological problem, but that's all right with us. You fit right in.
Take care, and hope to see you at NHC.
Thanks, brother.
Or not NHC, GABF.
GABF. We're hoping so too. Actually, we're really trying. We'll let you know.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks, brother.
On, Witch.
All right. What's going on with you guys? The dripping cheek boys over here.
Not me. I just want to tell you that.
Okay. So we'll just wrap up real quick.
I just got out of prison, and I'm a dripping cheek boy.
Yeah. So at Drake's Brewing Company, here's the deal: is that about 18 breweries got together and brewed a beer made with this new Summit hop, and so they're all just called Summit Pale or Summit IPA, and they gave it. We did this on Lunch Meat too, so you guys may have heard the story already. But every brewery had to follow IBU guidelines and malt bill guidelines and things like that. They could put them in at different places and sort of put their own twist on it, but the recipes were generally the same, and they could use their own house yeast. So we tasted a whole bunch of them there. There was nary a bad version of this beer.
No.
All of them were really nice. The winner, and they're doing a few of these competitions, like Sean said earlier, our Drunk of the Week, that they're doing one at Barclays tomorrow, and they're doing it at Toronado on the 19th. So if you're in our area, you can go. But I'll keep you up to date on this too, because it is a cool thing. I like what they did.
Yeah.
The winner of yesterday's, the People's Choice Award, went to Drake's Brewing Company, and it was held at Drake's Brewing Company, and so not to say that the beer wasn't great, because it was, but come on, a little home court advantage for the People's Choice. It happens. The gold medal that was a panel of judges that decided on all the beers was actually Bison Brewing Company in Berkeley, California. Now, and we were happy about that.
So Pete brought it home.
That's right. Pete brought it home, and we met Dan Del Grande, another one of their guys there from Bison. A cool guy, hung out with him for quite a while. The cool thing is, you guys remember Bison from being on the show, all organic brewery. They all of their beers are organic, including this one that they entered into the competition. And I say that they're kind of showing too that the organic beers can be, if not just as good, obviously better than all the regular beers too. He won the gold medal there yesterday at this thing with an all organic beer, and that was really a cool thing. So congratulations to Bison Brewing Company. I'm curious to see what's going to happen at Barclays on Monday. I'll keep abreast of that. I said breast.
What time is that?
and then Tornado.
What time's that happen?
You know, I'm not sure. What, you thinking of going or what? Tomorrow evening, I think they're going to do like a 6 p.m. thing.
That made tough.
I'm not exactly sure. Would you like your microphone turned back on, Allergy Boy?
Sorry. We should call Sullivan.
And find
See
out.
If he knows, yeah.
Call
I think it's an aircraft. Okay, good. It's at Barclays.
We'll call him about 2 tomorrow.
Oh, Sully's like Doc today. He's taking your role, because Doc, you're doing fine.
I'm doing awesome. I'm just glad to be here.
We're glad to have you back.
Yeah. I got to get here. I got to build things.
Yeah, you did.
Sweating my ass off.
And you get to rebuild things too.
Yes.
Got to hear about my 4-year-old underwear.
Hey, my shorts are sweaty too.
I had 4-year-old underwear once, but the judge made me give them back.
I'm free-balling it today. I'm wearing these shorts that have the netting inside. They're like swim trunks.
That's what I need. I should have worn mine.
Because in the heat...
So it's semi-commando.
Yeah, it's semi-commando. It allows air to flow through their nether regions. Yeah. And in this sort of heat, you need that, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives you... you ever notice that the hotter it gets, the more support you need? Boxers are rough when you need more support.
Well, because they hang low.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, these support your hang low and bring you right back up into your own territory.
See, Daniela, see how hard it is to be a guy
instead of foreign
territory. It's really hard.
You're one hung low.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Daniela, you don't have to worry about hang lows and different things.
Well,
like
at least
this.
not now.
The time will come.
Yeah.
Good night and good luck.
All right, join us next week where I have absolutely no idea what's happening, but you can be sure it'll be a good show. Right, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yay.
Another good show coming up to you next week. I'll get you up to date as soon as possible. It's a tough time booking this summer because, especially right around now, there's a lot of festivals going on.
A lot of travel, right?
A lot of people doing different things. Yeah. So, what we're working on, a little insight, is actually getting booked for the remainder of the year. And so as soon as I can really make that happen, we're going to post it all up. I'm working with a couple of new people. This is some real insider stuff that I'll let you know as it unfolds. But I'm working with a couple new people about our weekly tastings. I know we haven't done tastings in a while, and part of it is that we really need to get it planned and get the beers that everybody can try. And then on top of that, I want some real like BJCP people in here who can help us taste these things.
That's going to be great.
So while we were at NHC, we did a lot of talking with different people and got some people on board that were real excited about this thing. I'll tell you, Kevin Pratt's excited about it. I'll throw really that name out right now. He's going to help us out. We might even coincide with a flavor of the week and kind of make a sound bite that you can tune into the Brewing Network and catch that, and then go into our beer tasting during the show. So a lot of plans are going to be unfolded for you guys in the very, very near future, and it will all be on our events page. We'll line up our tastings. We'll get back on track with that, and with some real professional tasters to come in here and help us all with our palates.
So basically what you're saying, now that Doc's back,
we can
shit's
go to
coming
work.
down.
Yeah, that's right. We're going back to work. So that's the deal. Stay tuned to us, and we're going to keep doing our best to make it all happen for you.
Groovy.
Daniela, you ready to get on out of here?
I am so ready.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Thanks to Dave Logsdon of Yeast Company. Go to yeastlab.com. Dave at yeastlab.com, rather. He said you can feel free to send him your emails and questions, and we would appreciate that as well as he would.
Definitely.
JP, thanks for hanging out and sweating it out with us.
Hey, thank you for inviting me to your place to do the thing that I did.
Sweating with the oldies.
Yeah. And to shake my gut and have you... I was just in a zone. I was in the zone.
Do you do that often?
Yeah, I do. I was hypnotized by the gut.
You hypnotize yourself with your own gut.
I do. And then I didn't know that you guys were actually watching me.
I couldn't. I'm standing there. I'm trying to get to a thing, and I'm looking at you.
You're a vibe, man.
Oblivious to everything going around you. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
It was a vibe.
Hey, some of us have it, and some of us don't. If you got it, you got to shake it, baby.
It's all about the harmonics.
And then throw up all over yourself.
All right, Doc. Welcome back, brother. It's
great, man. It's been good.
All right, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be hammered next week.
I'm kind of hammered now.
Yeah. But you're coming back from a tasting even before you do the show,
Oh,
right?
Next week I'm tasting with Vinny in Napa, and then I'll make it on down here. So I'm going to be lit when I get here.
Nice. Driving that giant boat down the highway.
Well, I'm going to take it easy, but... You know what?
Get yourself a driver.
Yeah.
Well, no. No.
No.
I'll be taking it easy unless one of you wants to go with me.
I'll go with you, but I won't drive.
Because you want to drink.
Yeah. Tasting with Vinny, what am I going to do? Sit there with my thumb in my butt? Drinking water?
Or drinking your gut.
Drinking my gut. Vinny would like that.
I would.
JP, did you see the picture of yourself in the forum?
I did. Jamil, was that Jamil or was that Crotch?
No, that one's Crotch.
And I like how he put the quote like I actually said something.
I like that too, yeah.
Ass.
He just wants you to know that he really likes your shorts.
Well, he cut him that short. He should.
Check out the Brewing Network. We're getting lots of new members coming in there and having fun. So
Go meet
some new people.
Meat.
And have some fun with meat.
Meat.
All right, thanks everybody. Doc, good to have you, you drunken bastard.
I know.
We miss you.
You know, I'm your guest for the next 3-4 hours. So.
Perfect.
So I'm here.
We're going out back and we're drinking. Daniela, thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
Yeah, you know what I am talking about. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love it, that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I am that well, I'm the one right now.
All right. By popular demand, we're back for a short segment. Dr. Scott's brother, for the very first time, has joined us in the chat room today and wanted to talk to us about their machine gun experience in Vegas this past weekend.
I saw it in the magazine. I said, we have to do that.
Doc, you had to be the one who figured it out.
Yeah.
Look at you could shoot stuff with automatic weapons.
It'd be great.
Oh, man. So I think he's going to call us up right now. If he doesn't know, does he have the number, Daniela?
I gave it to him already, yes.
He's a Dr. Scott sibling. He knows kind of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He had to figure out the phone number, right?
He knows a lot of stuff.
I'm going to need another beer if we're going to do this, Doc.
All
You got anything else in the cooler there?
Oh, and I do.
I will take some.
I figure, what better way than to come back and do a surprise segment and find out about automatic weapon shooting in Nevada?
And Scott's brother.
And so as soon as he calls in, we'll get to that. In the meantime...
How about a Hellas? Oh, there he is.
Phone's ringing.
Okay.
You know what? He's probably...
What's your brother's name?
Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Whoa.
What's that?
Hello?
Hey, Tim.
Hey.
How are you, brother?
Pretty good. What's up?
Man, do you have a bad connection.
I know. Crappy phone.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do you know how to private message in that chat room there?
No.
She'll send you one.
Dr. Scott should have his number.
Does Dr. Scott have your number that you're at right now? We can call you back?
Unless he's too drunk to find it.
No, I can find it. No.
All right. So let me call you right back. We'll get a cleaner connection.
Call my cell phone.
All right, brother.
All right, later.
Okay. We're going to do that because that's going to... I don't want that connection.
What did you want to do in the meantime?
Nothing. I wanted to get myself a beer.
Just silence. Let's just sit in silence.
Doc, you're going to have to get me that phone number without announcing it to the world somehow.
There it is. It's on my cell. It's right there.
It would be great if Scott's brother Tim got inundated with calls for the next week from...
Which one is
I love you, brother!
The one that's
Yo,
highlighted
dude. Oh, this is the brother's well-traveled. He's been most of the places in the world.
Oh,
and he's been around, and he's been the Coors Light drinker that I could just barely get him to, stretch beyond that. We went to the Southern California Homebrewers Fest. Said, well, you gotta try, don't try to everything, you gotta try one thing, and he got hooked into the hefts. And by the end of the day, or middle part of the day, he was comparing hefts. He wasn't even just drinking them, he was comparing them.
He was into them at that point.
Oh, yeah. And now he's into lambics and hefts mostly, so I'm sure he's into them right now.
Tim.
What's up?
Hey, good.
Now that's better. That's a little cleaner. How are you, brother?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
We're doing all right. Doc was just telling us about your affinity for shitty beer, and before you've discovered the Hefeweizen.
He's changed me. I'm a changed man.
Yeah.
Took me to a beer festival and gave me an assignment, and I followed it, and I got changed.
That's what Doc's good at giving assignments.
Yeah. You do this and you do this. Okay, I'm changed. Good.
Yeah.
You did good.
It wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
No.
So
well, you got to figure he's pretty stubborn. If you haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah.
No.
He is.
What?
Yeah.
Doc hard-headed?
Which are you, the younger or the older brother, Tim?
I'm younger.
How many years?
And that was proven in Vegas when we asked some guy at some.
No, it was the toothless lady cab driver.
No, it wasn't. It was the guy at the Irish pub.
Did Doc?
I thought it was the toothless lady cab driver that made you take off your glasses to make sure. And she was taking us to the automatic weapons range.
The toothless cab driver driving you to the automatic weapons range.
Oh, we said we want to go to this address, and she goes, I don't know where that is. We want to go to the gun store. She goes, oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, of course.
That's where I lost my teeth.
No, I see what she said was she goes, you wouldn't want to look in my mouth. I haven't been to a dentist in 14 years.
Oh!
And I said, no, I wouldn't. And then Tim says, look, he's on vacation. Leave him alone.
All right.
That pretty much disgusted me. I don't know how Scott feels about that. He looks at it as this is more money.
Yeah. Now, Tim, I got a caller on the other line who says that he's the real Dr. Scott's brother. So I'm going to put him on, and I don't know, maybe you're a fake. Let's find out here. Hello, the real Dr. Scott's brother. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Hey, what's happening? So how do I know which one's the real brother?
You just can have me draw on pants and we'll know right from there.
All right. Describe Dr. Scott's hey nanu nanu. Both of you, and we'll see who's more accurate.
Hopefully he wins because I have no idea what that means.
Yes, you do, Tim.
How about that?
All right, let me draw my pants. I'm sure mine looks the same.
All right, the caller that's on the telephone, not the first, first doctor, Tim 2. We have Tim 1 and Tim 2. Tim 2, did you go shooting automatic weapons with Dr. Scott this weekend as well?
Are you talking about fully automatic heroin injections, or what are you talking about?
All right, your connection is real bad too. It was a good effort, but it sounds real bad. All right, we're going to stick with Tim 1 for now, unless you've got any revealing evidence about Dr. Scott that's going to let us know you're the real brother.
No, we have a 10-second delay, so we can just bleep all that out.
Yeah,
he's a Martian.
He's a Martian. He's not real. There's pods in the basement.
All right, thanks, brother. Sorry, it just sounds bad. I can't do it. All right, Tim 1, the apparently real Dr. Scott's brother. Is this a normal thing for Dr. Stott to go, hey, look, we can go shoot automatic weapons. Come on, Tim. Like, is that...
We're looking for something to do, and I picked the atomic, what was it,
the Atomic Weapons Testing Museum.
Yeah, and then he picked something out of the book they leave in your hotel room, so let's go shoot automatic weapons. And I did talk to friends who'd done it before, and I knew it was expensive, so it wasn't my first choice.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, we were out there in Vegas a couple years ago for the NHC. I'm sorry I didn't know about that.
Yeah. What did you guys go shoot, Tim? Like, what's the target?
I shot Osama bin Laden. I don't know what. Would you shoot? That's just terrorist,
just your average terrorist.
They just have a bunch of dudes in turbans that you guys can shoot?
No, well, you have a lot of paper targets.
Yeah.
And all of them seem to be, like, of Middle Eastern descent. They just seem to be that way.
What a trailer trash place to go. That's so funny.
Yep. And the only thing I regret is I didn't get to fire the squad automatic weapon.
Why?
You know what? I did some research, and that wasn't that. Because squad automatic weapons are 9mm. No, sorry, they're 223s. That thing was an M60.
There's an M60. I wanted to fire an M60, and this chick was firing it next to us when we walked in, and it's like, and it just knocked us back with that much impact. It was nasty.
Wow. And I can't get over the whole thing. So what did you shoot if you didn't shoot the M60?
We shot an M16 223, and then I really wanted to fire an MP5.
HK, baby.
Did you guys walk out of there just all smiles?
Oh yeah, and this the thing. I'm wondering if we're gonna get a cab back because it's pretty much off the strip.
Yeah,
and there cabs are coming in there all the time.
Yeah,
and this chick gets out with this big long drink glass, the kind that foo drink ones that look like a yard of ale.
Oh yeah,
and she's got like a margarita, and she goes, "Can you drink while you're shooting?"
The answer was yes, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, why not?
Can I have your cab?
I can hear Tim, give me either a Coors Light or a Hefeweizen. What do you got?
But we found some. We hit every brew pub we could find, and
we started off the day at the Hofbrau House.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Oh, there were some Germans standing on the table, Daniela. It was great.
Were there hot Germans there, Tim?
Is there such a thing?
Oh!
Coming at ya!
So we know now that Tim is not Dr. Scott's brother because Dr. Scott hits on me constantly. So now you have disqualified yourself.
We're going back to Tim, too.
He's never met Daniela.
There was no women there.
Yeah.
No, he's
German guy.
I'm out of here.
He's just he's right. There was really no women there, but he's never met Daniela, so how could he know? He's got nothing to compare it to.
You can tell Scott is the.
I'd have to steer some deer antlers like the guys up on the table had.
Yeah. All right. So you went from Hofbrau House to what? Did you guys hit the Gordon Beer Shot there? Oh, that's Reno. No, there's one in
Gordon Beer Shot there.
Did you hit the Gordon Beer?
No.
We
hit a couple other places. There's some brew pubs in some casinos that we hit.
Lucky 7 or whatever.
Yeah,
Rossi brewed there recently.
I made Scott walk more than a mile to the next brew place at the Monte Carlo.
That's not nice.
It's not that far. And it's 105 outside at 9 at night. And I'm like,
what's a good thing you went to Vegas in June? You know?
Well, but the worst thing about it is that it's not so much the distance and the heat, it's that the distance and the heat makes you lose your buzz from the first place by the time you get to the next one.
The cool thing that JP pointed out was you can walk around with your beer. And I didn't believe Tim when Tim said, no, you can walk around with your beer. And I go, it just doesn't feel right.
It feels right.
Oh, man, does it feel right. Yeah. I love it more than anything, being able to just walk around with a beer.
Well, it took me about a half a block to get into it, and that was good.
Yeah. Which is more than I would expect.
Yeah.
The second time I made him walk that far, we found a good brewery, Sin City Brewing, and they had actually a real good Hefeweizen, a lot of clove to it.
Ah, nice. That's how you like it, huh?
Yeah, he liked that one quite a bit. So, did we walk back to that one and have another one? And then walk back out?
We only had one to go there, and then we walked to,
New York,
and then gambled for a while.
And actually, I won lots of money there, so it was good.
Who won more? Which brother is better at cards?
Yeah. Tim likes craps now, so.
Oh.
And I play blackjack just as much, so I don't know.
He didn't like my table and he left, so.
Yeah, well, because I kept losing.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
I was winning, so I wasn't going to get up.
Which one's taller?
Him. Oh, big time.
You can tell Scott's older because Scott answers everything.
See, that's why Doc's got short man complex, because his own younger brother was taller than him.
Tim, do you drive
my older brother's taller than me too.
Tim, do you drive a Prius or a Mini while Scott, being the shorter, drives the biggest car in the world?
Tim has 2 cars. What's your little car?
I was asking Tim, Scott.
I got a Ford Focus, and then I got an F-250 that's about 8 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
Still, though, the Focus is pretty good.
Yeah, you can't. I would love to see Dr. Scott in a Ford Focus.
He would actually fit.
Well, I think my truck's bigger than his Hummer, though.
His is bigger than yours is, Doc.
Oh, you know what? It could be.
Yeah.
All right. Did Doc used to beat your ass when you guys were kids?
No, actually, I won't tell you.
Sure you will.
Yeah, you will. Come on, you got to tell us.
No, Scott taught my friends all the bad things in life.
I ruined a lot of young lives.
How many years difference?
I was born in
3.5, 4 years.
Oh, okay. So in other words, when you were like 17 and ready to do, everything, you were handing it down to the kids?
No. When I was in college, the chemist.
Ah, okay.
And I was handing it down to the kids.
For the kids.
Yeah.
For the kids.
But also when he was older, I got his ID, so it worked out pretty good.
Beautiful.
I still remember the first time I took him out to a club. He's like 16, 17, and Dan, this is just like a big fucking party.
But you got to pay to get in.
Oh, I paid for him to get in.
Well, the interesting thing is that here, some 20 or so years later, Doc's still corrupting people's minds. It's the same difference.
Now he has 2 young minds of his own.
Yeah, he does have a gift for that. All right. Well, Tim, it's nice to meet you over the airwaves.
Yeah,
and next time you're up here hanging with Doc, you're going to have to do it on a Sunday and just come do a show with us.
Yeah. I'm off. I'm off after I listen to the show, and I'm off to work on the Chariot.
For Burning Man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Doc showed me, listeners at home. You just got to know this kind of stuff about Doc. He pulls out the schematic for the. First of all, they have a schematic for this Chariot that they have at Burning Man. Not only that, the schematic is it's like a nuclear facility. There's so many things going on in this whole thing. He's got
over 100 wires.
100 wire. Yeah, you got like a steel box to protect all of the brains, and
you have to.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing with these guys.
I soldered for 2 weeks straight. There's just way too much going on there. This is a big effort on both of us, but we're hoping it's going to be
Tim, where do you
over
live?
the top.
Where are you at, Tim?
What's that? Lake Elsinore.
Okay.
I lived there at one time.
You did?
Yeah, I used to live in Lake Elsinore when I was a kid.
I bet you lived at the south end, didn't you?
Yeah, it wasn't the nice part, was it?
Southie?
The Southie.
My only memories of it are getting bit by giant red ants. They were everywhere.
That's a good memory, dude.
That's all I remember about
Don't
Lake
lay in the
Elsinore.
dirt.
Yeah, well, I've always been
that's good advice.
Always been kind of a lay in the dirt kind of kid, you know? What can I do? All right, we're going to get out of here. Tim, thanks very much. I appreciate the call, brother.
All right, take it easy.
See you, Tim.
All right, bye.
Dr. Scott's sibling.
That was a nice little treat.
I'll tell you what. You know
Coming
what?
in after the old ending there.
You know what I wish for? That our show lasts long enough that one day we can have Dr. Scott's siblings when they're 21 on the show. Doc will be he'll still be as fun as hell, you could be sure, but he'll be a little older.
My children?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry, your offspring.
Yeah.
I want your offspring on the show, and we can talk to them about how Doc's corrupted their life as well.
Well, at least 14, I think they'd be good enough to
be ready.
Actually, I was just talking about that to my brothers. Like, what age can I start taking them to Europe so they can, not be Americanized here?
Right.
And
Be Americanized
at 14, 16, they can start popping a few beers with me over there, kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The the tour.
I like that. Doc's like planning that. What is the earliest age I can take my kids to Europe and get them hammered?
That'd be about 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
all right.
let's set the date right now.
Let's figure out what that is.
I got a calendar.
We can do a show from there.
That'd be a great idea. This is Doc and his 14-year-olds getting hammered, touching boobs. Over here in Germany. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
There are so many things that I want to say, and the words they're not coming out right. Don't cry, little darling, come and take my hand. I want to show you something special tonight. I want to share my feelings, I want to show my love. I want to give you a dirty Sanchez. I want to throw you a donkey punch. I want you to give me a Cleveland steamer. Would you like a jelly donut and a hot lunch? Have you ever had an angry dragon? A blumpkin have you ever known? I want my dog in your bathtub, and you can play my rusty trombone. Well, a stranger with a western grip can take a golden shower.